Well, there goes the Daverhood. Good morning, everybody. Welcome on this first Saturday in March of 2024 to the 933rd episode of the Dave's Gone By Facebookio Podcastio Programmio of the stream. With me, Dave Lefkowitz, my darling orchestrator there, wife, so talented she is, Joyce, helping me out with the sounds and the themes and the symbols of this program. Oh, look who's here. Look who wants to say hi. It's toilet paper. Because, that's how I roll. See the comedy there? That's because he's a roll of toilet paper. Do you think there's an unintentionality, perhaps, of making his center yellow? Because you would hope toilet paper would be either gray in the middle, and that's it just occurred to me. Either that, or this is kind of an anus. No, it's not. Yeah. Anyway, that's how we roll.
Look at his little feet.
He's very cute.
Wee. Oh, give me your phone so I can look at Facebook on your phone. I can get your...
Oh, yeah, you can check and make sure we're rolling and streaming. Anyway, good morning, everyone, to Dave's Gone By with me, Dave Lefkowitz. And so, what we do, this is a show of talk, interviews, humor, weirdness, culture. It just all gets thrown together for 3 hours, more or less, on Saturday mornings, right here on this Facebook page, Dave's Gone By, with the archives going to davesgoneby.com and archive.org. So, the show has become completely indescribable at this point. There's no real way to tell somebody who hasn't seen a few episodes of what the hell to expect. There's an idiot talking. We got that. But about what the in-jokes, the jokes, the things, the callbacks to something that happened a month ago or 5 years ago, because we've been on the air since 2002. So, there's a certain overall Joseph Campbellian logic to the illogic of this show. So we talk about stuff in current events, and we talk about stuff that has nothing to do with current events. We will have regular segments, for example, Greeley Times, because my wife Joyce and I lived in northern Colorado for several years, and while we were there, our local newspaper is still there. It's called the Greeley Tribune, real actual newspaper. In fact, we have an example of it here. This is a real headline, a real issue of the Greeley Trib. Anyway, they do have a sense of humor over there. Not such a sense of humor that they would have hired me to write for them, bastards, but enough of a sense of humor that they have a column every week in the paper that is based on real stuff. It is based on actual phone calls that come into the local police department dispatch. And the dispatcher takes the call and has to note down everything in the phone call for police records. Well, they strip the identifiers out, and the ones that aren't really tragic or scary or someone was shot or something like that, but ridiculously, my neighbor's horse just leaned back and pooped over my fence. Can you arrest them? Can you arrest the horse? These kinds of things that are real phone calls. Am I not streaming? Says should be on Facebook. So folks, if you can...
Is this the one that you're...
Yeah, that's my page. Hoping, supposedly I'm streaming on Facebook now.
It says you're on, but I don't get that.
Drop me a thumbs up if it says I'm on. And if not, then you'll watch this program tomorrow when we post it on our archive page and presumably on this Facebook page as well. Anyway, I think I'm broadcasting to everyone, not just like friends or something. It should be to the public. Let's just make sure.
Yeah, a lot of times I see you.
I saw myself loading up on here and then I had to click it off. So I don't know why my thing on the phone isn't working. But anyway, Greeley Times. So we take the funniest of the funniest, the best of the calls that come into the Greeley Police Department that are then written up in the paper, and we take the funniest ones of those and we share them with you. There you go. Speaking of Colorado, because we live there, also I got it into my head to write a poem about as many different places in the whole state of Colorado as I possibly could. And I've been doing that now for a bunch of years and still trying to do a new one every week. I haven't even said all the old ones on the air yet. But every week we do a Colorado Limerick of the damned. Because this Limerick is not only has to rhyme the name of the place, in 3 lines, and then the other 2 rhyme with each other, but I also try to make them risque, disgusting, and evil, just like I am. So yeah, a Colorado Limerick of the Damned, that's coming up, and we're going to Manzanola, Colorado. Bet you never heard of it, but it's there. Manzanola, Colorado. And as I said, we've had, at this point, nearly 300 of these poems. I'm trying to build towards 365 or 366, so there's a 1 a day. I don't think I can get there. I honestly think...
Like a vitamin.
What?
A vitamin. Like the 1 a day central.
Oh, so I'm trying to do 1 a day like the vitamin. What's the difference between a vitamin and a hormone? Do you know? Well, you can't make a vitamin. Hey, I need a sound effect there. Get on the stick there, Paul Schaefer. Thank you very much. You can't make a vitamin. So anyway, I feel like I'm really struggling now with some of these, because once you get past the first 200 fairly easy to rhyme names of places in Colorado, the next 256 become infinitely more difficult. I'm still managing. I managed Flagler the other day. Flagler. Nothing rhymes with Flagler.
Some of them I think are harder than others.
That's what she said. But it's true. So today, Manzanola, not terrible. I mean, the joke is, the poem is terrible. But, excuse me, trying to rhyme Manzanola is not as difficult as some others. But we're trying, folks. Anyway, Greeley Times, Colorado Limerick. What else do we have? We have Dave's Big Dictionary. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, an idea whose time has come and gone, and we brought it back. It's where Joyce, in fact, we'll do this now. We'll get this ready. We'll pre-plan it. Dave's Big Dictionary.
Okay,
yeah. I've got the book right here. So Joyce.
Maybe I'll let Potato pick it.
Oh boy! All right, let me explain.
He's kind of occupied, David. He can't. He's occupied.
We just got this free from a book lending library thing from on the street, so it's good. It's the Webster's Dictionary.
What decade is it?
And Rocket Thesaurus. Oh, that Rocket.
Roger, right?
But here's the deal. 2 books in one, and they were free. So, it doesn't get better than that. We're going to be using this for a bit. Here's the deal. Joyce is going to flip through, or actually, Potato's going to do it today.
No, he can't because
he's on the toilet. Yeah. So look how pretty. Look how the black thing moves up and down. Watch. Isn't that pretty? It's like animation.
Ooh, it's beguiling.
It's like Pixar.
I hope not. I hope if they're paying thousands of dollars for Pixar, it looks better than that.
If I'm doing it, it's Putzar. Yeah, it's like, here we go, look at that. So Joyce is going to literally randomly run her finger through these beautiful pages of the dictionary / thesaurus, and then I'm going to tell her at a certain point to stop. And it's kind of like musical chairs, and wherever her finger lands, don't go there, wherever her finger happens to be at that moment, that is a word that I'm going to have to talk about for about 5 minutes or so, just completely.
I'm doing upside down, so I know I'm doing.
Oh, she's doing upside down. That's brilliant. Oh my God, she's keep going. And I'm going to have to talk extemporaneously about that word, whatever comes into my head. Keep going, keep thumbing, keep strolling along the canals of this Venetian stop.
Philanthropist.
Ooh.
Philanthropist.
For me, I thought you were going to say fellatio. I'm like, hello.
Philanthropist.
Yeah, good one.
That's a good one.
Excuse me.
Do you want me to make you tea?
No, I'm good.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I just need the water. I need to talk. I didn't really talk this morning.
Where's water? You have water and tea?
Yeah, I've got water here.
Is it the same? Do you want me to get you seltzer? Seltzer in there?
No, this is pure H2O right there.
Ooh.
Philanthropic. So let's see the definition of the word. I'm sure you know it, but the word philanthropic means. Oh, gonna need Yes, I turned 60 a couple of weeks ago. Can you eat these?
I'm very
Philanthropic.
sad.
What?
Iris Apfel, she was 102.
Oh, she died. The glasses woman.
Yeah, she was lovely, bohemian style.
This is interesting. This is a rather scant dictionary in the sense that they don't have philanthropic.
That might be the synonym. That might be the source part, no?
No, this is a dictionary. But they have philanthropist, but they don't have philanthropic. I guess that's why it's so short.
The medical dictionary?
No medical today. Let's use that one sparingly. Not to mention half the people we know have some medical conditions.
Yeah, I know. It might be.
Don't even think about it. But I can do philanthropic, but the word here is philanthropist.
Okay.
It's a noun, one devoted to philanthropy. Well, that's helpful. One who exerts himself in doing good to his fellow men. Fellow men. What kind of book is fellow men? They don't even separate. They have fellow men like one word.
Maybe that's a word.
I don't think. You know what?
I'll look it up.
Gather that fellowman is not even a word in this dictionary.
Maybe it was when it was written.
No. Wait.
Is it?
What kind of fucked up dictionary? There's the word fellow is not in this dictionary. Where are we? No wonder somebody gave this away for free. No wonder somebody stuffed this thing. The word fellow.
No, it
is
is
horrible.
No, it is a word.
Fellowman?
Britannica.
Oh, all right. But no. Look, they're separated. Fellow man. Look, there's a space between fellow and man.
Oh, yeah. No, someone said, look, is it fellowman or fellowman?
Yeah, and?
They didn't answer it.
Oh, maybe they're asking you, do they mean fellow men or fellow man? But there's still two words. This is messed up. How do you not have the word fellow, and yet in the definition of philanthropist, you have someone helping fellow men?
Merriam-Webster's dictionary.
Let me see. Oh, there it is. Okay,
Yeah.
What does Merriam-Webster say about fellow men? The proper, not this Webster's dictionary, the Merriam-Webster. See, when they took Merriam out.
It says, it's a thesaurus, fellow men, fellows. It's a alternate form of fellows.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So that's not wrong. But I'm telling you, when they wouldn't pay Merriam enough, when Merriam said, I haven't gotten a raise in 3 years, they're making me still work a 5-day week. I'm sorry.
Maybe they were the person who did all the spelling and the correction. They were the careful reader.
So, all right, so fellow men. What year was this?
I don't know.
This is what kills me. This is not, I know the book looks like it's from 1974. This is 2001. This is only 24 years old, right? 23? I can't do math.
It's a while.
But anyway, philanthropist. Someone devoted to, you know what's really funny? You know what's really beautiful?
What?
The first definition, there's two definitions here. One devoted to philanthropy.
Yes.
One who exerts himself in doing good to his fellow man.
Yes.
Guess what word isn't in this dictionary?
Philanthropy?
It's
It's not in there.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
I don't think that's a...
They use philanthropy in the definition, so I better look up philanthropy, because all dictionaries do that. They say, but the word that they use to define the word in here is not in here. This is the greatest dictionary ever. I love it. As it happens, they do tell you one who exerts himself in doing good to his fellow men, and we all know what philanthropy means. So later in the program, I will have to use the word philanthropic or philanthropist, to talk about something involved with that. Not sure what I'm going to say. Yeah. It's just off the top of my head. Whatever comes to mind, I'm thinking, oh, interesting. One of my classes, the students, some of them chose to do the Shakespeare play Timon of Athens.
Oh, yeah.
And that has to do very much with philanthropy. I may talk about that. I don't know. Anyway, so there's that. What else? Oh, and StoryTime. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we will have StoryTime, which I'm not going to do. We're going to get Rabbi Sol Solomon of blessed memory to do that. Rabbi Sol is the founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And Rabbi Sol, well, if you know Rabbi Sol, you know Rabbi Sol. He's been with us since our very first episode. He was with us last week and scared the shit out of his guest. his testing, even one she was fabulous. She was having a fantastic time, and then later on she was like, can you delete the episode? And we're like, no, we can't delete the episode. Yeah, but I was there under unforeseen circumstances. I didn't realize we'd be doing comedy. I'm like, do your homework. Like, you were told who you'd be talking to. What's the matter with you? But anywho, Rabbi Sol is going to be reading from a book. This book, We Worship Here, Jewish Synagogue, which is, here's a beautiful one before, it was probably later bombed by demagogues, but this is, we worship the Jewish here at the Jewish Synagogue, perfectly in time, just a couple of weeks now from Passover, actually, about a month and a half from Passover, just a couple of weeks from Purim, a perfect time to bring Rabbi Sol Solomon in to read. He did not write this book. This is by Angela Wood and Emma Trithart. So a couple of really goyish names there for this. But they've written, I guess, in a way of bringing all the faiths together, because they have all these different books in this series. Rabbi Sol is going to give the eyeball to this colorful book about what Jews do. So if you choose to watch Rabbi Sol about Jews, you can't possibly lose. So Rabbi Sol bringing us story time on Dave's Gone By. And not only that, Rabbi Sol, whoops, I just messed up the computer there for a moment. Rabbi Sol will also do the honors that I wish I were doing, but he gets to talk to a theater critic, a real live theatrical personage, someone who's been reviewing theater even longer than I have. He is an emeritus professor at, wait for it, I think he has his degree from NYU. I think he's a fellow NYU person like I am. No, I'm sorry. He's an emeritus professor at Brooklyn College, where my dad's alma mater. And he's written or edited more than 30 books, published dozens and dozens of articles, all about the theater, directing. He's directed a lot for when he was teaching at Brooklyn College in CUNY. And also he is an expert. His particular focus when he was writing in particular is Japanese and Asian theater. He's probably one of the best American living experts on that theatrical form. So, for example, do you know what judo is? It's how we make bagels. Racist, but funny. Racist, but funny. But it's true. He'll be talking about kabuki. I mean, he'll be talking about theater in general because he's still a theater critic. He still has his own blog. It is sleiter.blogspot.com. We'll say that a few times. You can also read his reviews, just like David Sheward's, on theaterlife.com. And Samuel Leiter writes as well for theaterpizzazz.com. So yes, we're going to have a pizzazzy, that makes no sense, a pizzazzly time talking with Samuel Leiter, or Sam, if you will, and I will, on Dave's Gone By. Rabbi Sol talking to him about theater, about Broadway, about what is currently happening on the stages of New York, as well as his many, many years as a theater director, a theater teacher, and a scholar, very particularly about directing and about Japanese theater. So yeah, should be a very, very fun. And the guy is in his mid-70s. You think he was 40. We tested the Zoom yesterday to make sure it was working. And just seeing him, you're like, if I'm 60 years old, if I can be that like him in another 17, 18, whatever years, I will be, I'm Jewish. I'll never be a very happy man, but I will be a happy-ish man if I'm in his condition and I look and sound like him. So,
that's good. So, it's always good. You know what? Like, it's always good to check the Zoom. I like Zoom. I had a long discussion with a colleague who's like a WebEx devotee, and I said I've used it, but I'm so used to Zoom. And then, like, when I consulted for the nonprofit, we just converted everything to Zoom. So it's like, I think for people who don't use Zoom, or some people use like Google Workspace, whatever, they use one of those like video chat things, like, or WhatsApp. Like, if you're not really used to it, it can be, because my friend who doesn't use Zoom says, how come every time I log on it updates? I'm like, that's normal.
Oh yeah.
She thinks it's like, I'm like, it's fine, don't worry about it. But people don't, like, if you've not done it and you've not troubleshot it, like, people don't know.
If you're leading a meeting, especially if you are.
But even if you're logging on, sometimes like people don't realize. Like I always give people the Zoom meeting ID and the login password.
Because if they're using their telephone.
If they're using their telephone, or like maybe they don't have Zoom downloaded as an app, or like on their computer, they can just go to the website and type in those two things and get in. They don't have to download the whole program. Some people don't have space on their computer. I've worked with people who had to get an external camera hooked up, that the computer's camera was bad. So like
anything. I mean, and it's true. I would have saved myself a couple of very late or problematic things had we Zoom tested earlier in the week, or I made sure that, hey, let's give a trial run. We'll log on for 2 minutes. Let's make sure, and boom, But you're absolutely right. But we did try it, so I'm expecting in about 40 minutes Sam Leiter to be with us in the Daverhood talking to Rabbi Sol via Zoom, which would be a lot of fun. So, speaking of computers, speaking of this whole new digital world we live in, so this whole week on some level, not really, has been about AI, has been about using the tools that we can no longer in any real way avoid in terms of writing, checking things. Oh, you're handing me that, or yeah.
Oh, good Lord.
I mean,
oh, good Lord.
Even the idea of a digital voice, recorded voice. Oh, yeah.
Let's circle back to that. Let's take that offline. Let's take that offline. Let's take that offline. I'm at capacity. What would be the key learnings here? I feel like there's a disconnect. We're gaining traction. We have to be disruptive. Let's take that offline. Let's really drill down on this. That's a no-brainer. Let's circle back to that. Let's take that offline. Let's take that offline.
So yeah, those are, I mean, we have this. This is a toy. This is a nothing. But we are at the point. I mean, I think even some of our colleagues don't realize the point that we're at. You know, because there's still this idea on some level that if a student writes or is supposed to write a paper and uses AI, you can tell.
Or faculty.
Yeah. You know when you can tell? If the student's dumb. Because if the student doesn't quite know grammar, isn't that smart, you can tell when the student is writing and is being as smart as they can be, but obviously doesn't have the greatest command of the English language in the written word, or hasn't proofread, or their tenses change. You can sort of suss out when the student is doing the best they can, and they make little errors here and there. And then suddenly you get a paragraph in their essay that's perfect, right? That is like, oh, the grammar is tight. There's no spelling, not a spelling mistake. And it reads, and it's coherent, and it's cogent. It isn't quite clever, and it doesn't feel. I mean, that's what I think is going to change. The basic idea that colleagues and people in higher ed still feel is like, oh, I can tell when it's AI. I can tell. I'm telling you, when you get to the 200, 300, 400 level of classes, it is tough, and it's just going to get tougher. This idea that, I can tell if there's no human element in this essay, in, this story. I can just, first of all, you can no longer really prove anything the way you kind of could prove plagiarism back in the day. But now you're at the point where, if you have a student who is generally really smart and tight with their language, with their grammar, with their syntax, their semantics, and you compare it to AI, I'm sorry. And I know I'm probably telling tales out of school here, literally out of school here. But if not now, I'm saying give it 3 to 5 years, it will be indistinguishable. Because as AI gets better and better and better, it builds in wit. It builds in cleverness. It builds in unexpected turns of phrase. That's the thing that you couldn't expect like 5 years ago. 5 years ago, prosaic, like it will fulfill the prompt and answer the question very often, as Joyce would say, hallucinate. It will throw in, you know, things that it makes up. It will grab or create citations that don't actually exist. It will skim a wiki page or some other kind of page with wrong information and take that information as verbatim and then spew it out, and it will be incorrect. And thank goodness you still have the human element of professors who can spot that is incorrect. But I'm telling you, in 3 to 5 years, we will not. You're going to read a paper, and you're going to be, oh, that's clever, and it won't even be human, and you won't be able to. And you can't go to the student and say, did you? I think the only way that you can actually check is to go to the program that the student used, if they confess to it, ChatGPT or Copilot or one of these, and then throw in the same exact prompt and see if it comes out with the same exact language. And then and only then, as opposed to using what do they call the checkers that they have currently? When that
plagiarism, they're different names and different.
The detectors, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I didn't realize how far along we are at the point. Most professors feel like, as I said, you put something into AI, you have ChatGPT write something about Charles Dickens or chemistry or history, and it spits it out. And if the student turns that in and puts their name on it, you can tell there's no person here. This was just AI gobbledygook. It's correct. It's grammatically fine. And even if the factual information is fine, but you just know in your gut, humans still have guts, that something's a little not there. And you just hope the student is honest enough, if you call them on it, to admit it, right? And then the conversation is twisting and turning. I know I'm not being funny yet, but this will get funny. The conversation twists to the point of, wait a minute, AI is no longer plagiarism because this didn't exist. They're not stealing anything from something pre-written. So can they just take it and then cite AI as their source, which they have created because they needed to put the parameters into AI for it to spit out this essay in the first place. So it's all going to be very twisted and mixy. But I did not know how far along artificial intelligence had come until this week, when, out of the blue, as so many things happen with me, into my brain, I thought, it would be a great but bad name for a band. And I was like, just came to my mind for no good reason, Janusz and the Boom Weasels. I thought, and understand that I think the greatest, most joyful hour of my life, even to this date, even to my wonderful wedding day and great times I've had and trips I've taken, I don't think I've ever laughed as hard and as constantly as way, way back in late 70s, early 80s, when friends and I were sitting around trying to come up with names for our band that we were in. And the whole point was, A, to find a legitimate but cute name for our band, and B, to also throw out band names that we could never use because they were so vile and so ridiculous and so disgusting and so totally off the mark and yet hysterically funny to us, as 17, 18, 19-year-olds. So we just sit around and try to top each other with the worst, funniest, and sometimes, possibly usable band names. We almost went with my suggestion. This is absolutely true. And remember, we were a rock band with novelty comedy elements, kind of like trying to be Frank Zappa and the Mothers mixed with other elements too. So for the comedy rock band, I thought, hey, you know what we should call ourselves? Hasidic Disco Explosion. And we all fell about. Hasidic Disco Explosion. And then my friend at the time is on a bus going from like Woodmere to Cedarhurst or somewhere, and he's talking to this old guy sitting next to him on the bus, and they're just having a nice conversation because convivial. And my friend said, "Oh, I'm part of this band." And the old guy's like, "Well, what?" He's like, "Hasidic Disco Explosion." And this old guy was so interested. He was like, "Oh, I love the Hasidic. I love the klezmer music. I love the Hasidic. It sounds wonderful." And he knew right then that we couldn't name our band Hasidic Disco Explosion because we would probably get like 50 Hasids coming in and then being absolutely appalled because our music was, rocks, folk rock, progressive rock, and our lyrics were sometimes filthy and vile because I was writing half of them. So that went out the window. And then we just tried to impress each other with, things that somehow even were worse than an actual band name from like the 1980s that I remember called Scraping Fetus Off the Wheel. I wish I had thought of that. That's a real thing. Scraping Fetus Off the Wheel. We all tried to top that one. And I wish I had the list. If there's all the detritus and leftover things from, the years I was growing up, if there's an artifact that I wish I could find, I wish I could find the list that we wrote out at that session where we just sat there falling about on chairs and couches, trying to come up with the most ridiculous band names ever. And we settled on, as people who know me know, the Moist Sheep. And our band became, for a couple of years, the Moist Sheep, which was itself a disgusting and ridiculous name. And I kind of fought against because I didn't really see it. I didn't like the feel of it in my mouth. Moist Sheep. It's a little hard to, but it worked. It was actually the perfect name. What you looking for, babe? The Moist Sheep. And that's what we went with. So, but to this day, I will still, in my idle moments when I find them, try to come up with names of bands that should never exist. Names of bands that is like, what would be the most offensive, ridiculous, horrible name that you could possibly think of? And this is not the most horrible name, but I think it's a wonderful name. Janusz and the Boom Weasels. Walgreens has Game Flames. Joyce is scrolling through her phone, and many weeks ago, I almost caused an accident, or I turned down the wrong road because I was so.
No, you drove into an urgent care twice.
Yeah, because the Walgreens on the other side of the street had a neon sign advertising Game Flings. I had no idea what the hell they were. What was a game fling? And apparently it's this pod that you fling into your dryer, or is it washer? Or something. You fling it in when you're doing clothing of some sort. And it cleans them, or it dries them, or it softens them up, or it takes away the stack. It does something. It does something that, corporate America thinks is good for you. Game Flings. And so that became a thing for, and actually, wouldn't that be a cool name for the band? The Game Flings.
But you could have made that name, your band preceded that name by a long time.
Oh, well, back then, if I were forming a band now, the Game Flings, and we would be sued by Game, I'm sure.
I don't think you can use you can't, I don't think.
You can't call yourself the Coca-Colas.
No.
Yeah, or the Fugs actually had a song called Coca-Cola Douche. I don't know if Coke, Pepsi, or whatever the company sued them for that. I get probably allowed.
That's the name of the.
That was the name of the song. The Fugs were that's another.
No, I don't know, but the name of that's the name of a company.
Yeah. So I don't know if you can.
We were in we remember when we lived in Colorado, there was a restaurant I really liked.
Yeah.
And it was, hold on 1 second. I gotta do that. Sorry, I made a mistake. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
A restaurant I really liked, and I don't know what the name was. They were down at the corner near downtown near the movie theater, and they served breakfast. And then one day they changed their name, and we're like, "What happened?" You asked.
Yeah.
And they said, "Well, there was a lawsuit where another breakfast company. Remember what happened? They told them."
They were going to change their name, and they couldn't use it because it was, I don't remember.
They had to change it from the old name.
I think if they had gone through the process of hiring lawyers and suing, they would have been okay. But that would have broken them anyway. So they might as well just change the name.
Yeah.
But and that cute, like, breakfasty names based on omelets and eggs and toast or something like that.
Adorable. Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably still there and probably in the name that it was like 5 years ago.
Perfect.
And it actually reminded me, this is how it all came up. I had remembered, it's amazing the things that come to you 45, 50 years after the fact, out of the blue. I remembered a 45, remember that circular record album goes 45 RPM? I remember a 45 that I don't know why we got, because we were living in New York at that point, maybe still in Brooklyn. It came out in like the very late 60s, early 70s, and it was a song, it was like a political, it was protest era, but rock protest era, called Rosary Ann. And it's like, pray for Rosary Ann, this country's not what it can be. And it's catchy, but kind of like, a little bit strident, wanting to be Bob Dylan-y sort of lyrics, but a little closer probably to Donovan protesty lyrics. But it was a catchy little number, Rosary Ann. And for no good reason, we had that single. We got it probably got it free from somewhere, thrown in with another record we were buying. Because it was this local band. And I was like, does anybody, because God bless the internet, does anybody know about this record? That just popped into my head that we probably have somewhere still in the basement in my mother's house. Rosary Ann. And I type in a little bit of the lyrics, and I Google it. And it was an actual band. It's there. You can actually find the song on YouTube. And another couple of songs by this band, which it has gone down apparently now in history as having one of the worst band names ever. I agree with this. Have you ever heard of the Smubs?
Can you spell that?
SMUBBS. The Smubs. You can't top that. That was. Did you find them?
No, I'm trying to make an appointment to get that proposal done. I need to get
all right. Do your thing. But the Smubs. It's interesting that I remembered the song. I remember the title of the song, but the band name completely and yet the band name is the most memorable thing about them. That there was an actual band called the Smubs, and when I heard that, it got me on the jag. I should have told the story in reverse. It got me on the jag of I remember when I was coming up with all these ridiculous, horrible band names and we were all chipping in. And I wonder what a new, really bad, funny band name would be. At which point, old Dave's brain went right to Janusz and the Boom Weasels. And I swear to you, for 3 days, I couldn't even get the full name of that out. I would say, by the time I got to Boom, I would just be on the phone, Janusz and the Boom Weasels. And when Joyce first heard it, she thought because she knows me well enough, she thought I was saying, what was I? I was saying bum weasels.
Yes.
Like that they were somehow like this anima thing, like tushy weasels that people were putting up there. No, I meant it was a completely G-rated name that meant absolutely nothing. And had this ridiculous Eastern European guy fronting a band that called themselves the Boom Weasels for no apparent reason. So, we flash forward a day or two later, and now I'm obsessed with this band name, Janusz and the Boom Weasels. And I'm working it into as many conversations as I have with Joy. I don't do this with the public. I don't do this with my students. I don't subject them to that level of Daveness. But Joyce is here. She's stuck with it. So I'm like, hey, hon, Janusz and the Boom Weasels. And while she's watching TV, I'll interrupt some scene. It's like, Janusz and the Boom Weasels wouldn't do that. And then she'll push me forcibly out of the room. So I thought, no, this was Joyce's idea. What if we fed the name into the computer? And not just do a Google, because I Googled immediately to see if there was ever a band called Janusz and the Boom Weasels. And somehow it had turned up somewhere, and subconsciously, osmotically, it happened, and then I thought I invented it, and I did not. No, there's no such thing. Never been a band called that. And there would be nothing that would make me happier in the rest of my life now that somebody's heard that name. If someone makes a real band to go with it, they've done that, like the Monkees, or you invent the name of a band, and then you have to suddenly scramble because suddenly everybody wants to hear them. It's like, there is no Janusz in the band. Well, make one. Who was it? It was the Monkees, or there was even another band, not the Cowsills, but it was a 60s, 70-ish band where there were no people. It was a whole studio creation. It was the Archies, I think. They had the writers of the Archies, but there was no Archies band, and they had to put one together because the guy wrote Sugar Sugar, and people wanted to see them in concert. But anyway, so Joyce says, "What if? What do you think would happen?" Yeah, and that's always a cause for trouble. What do you think would happen if we fed the name Janusz and the Boom Weasels?
Was that my idea?
It was your idea. Into Copilot, which is Bing.com's version of like ChatGPT, and it's a program that I think is still in the R&D phase that they're testing out before they roll. And there's versions that you can pay for and the free version and stuff. So with the free version, you get to play around a lot. It's artificial intelligence. And Joyce's like, okay, artificial intelligence. Okay, Copilot. Can you please write an origin story for Janusz and the Boom Weasels?
Well, because I find, so as somebody who writes, right, I'm a little stymied because I've been editing, not writing original stuff, which always makes me sad. But as a writer, I always want to see, like, what I like about AI for me is that it's, like, I made the schedule for writing something and I said, change it to 3 weeks, put the dates in. So it can do some of the grunt work. But I wanted to see, and I put it on creative mode, so you can go like mild creative, moderate, and full creative, or full creative. That's why we got that.
Really? Okay, I know that. Yeah.
But I wanted to see how this thing that hallucinates and has like pulls data, how this thing could generate a story from a non-existent group. So I was just curious. Like,
yeah.
I like to see how it makes photos. Some of them are horrific, like the dream with the screaming unicorn and the skull.
Oh yeah, I have somewhere on I have, or on this, I can show you, because we also, Joyce was like, hey, they not only have a verbal part, but you can tell it to draw something. Please draw a really cute potato in steampunk fashion with a hat. And it did. It was adorable.
Yeah,
I would manufacture those toys and make $20 million.
If you took that to some festival where there were steampunk people, they would love it.
Yeah.
It was very cute.
And remember, this is not human. This is you telling a computer, please draw this in this way. Please. And then, if it's not exactly what you want, you say, could you modify it?
We did with the baby bears at the disco. We said, put a disco ball, make more bears. And then for the Boom Weasels, for the album, we made an album cover. But then we said, like, it was too scary, make it cute. Then it was too cute. And then it's like, take out the weasels, right? You could.
Yeah,
you know,
actually, I think, let me see, because our guest is, oh no, I can't minimize Zoom when I'm recording. Okay, fine, I'm not going to minimize Zoom, but I'm going to pull that down for a moment and see if I can share.
There was something you saved on the desktop about this Boom Weasels, right? I think the album cover
is on I think I saved, I'm trying to look. I thought I saved the imagery. It might be just in my email. That's the thing.
Did I send it to you?
Or I sent it to myself. I think I did.
If I sent it to you, then I will. Let me look.
Let me see. Because I totally would have kept those
images
created.
Why don't you just text your guest in the waiting room?
Oh, to let them know that
we're. I see you there. Just hang tight.
Yeah.
Because we got a meeting late, and it was the same thing. I was worried. And then they were like,
yeah, let me do that real quick. Let me just say, let's see, hold on. Participants, let me, no, that's not that.
Oh.
What? Yeah, Joyce found it. She's so good at this stuff. All right. Yeah.
No, I found it in my email that I sent you.
Okay. Why don't you set, because this won't work unless you set it up.
I said, create an image of a peaceful dream of me sleeping in bed and dreaming peacefully, like in a peaceful state, in a meditative, peaceful state. Mm-hmm.
This is what AI or
someone happily sleeping and dreaming of a peaceful state.
So when you get
in a cosmic way.
it's
cosmic.
oh, that cosmic.
I think
that
of
may be.
metaphysical or something.
Yeah.
You know.
So this is what the program came up with. So at first glance, it's kind of cool. You see the guy sleeping, nice, colors, a little bit, little girl color.
You can make it bigger too.
Well then, but then, for the details, I'll make it bigger.
Okay.
But then you sort of notice, wait a minute, here's a man sleeping, smiling happily. What the? He's literally dreaming of the apocalypse. He's having a wonderful dream about the world coming to a horrible end. The screaming. I don't. That's not even a unicorn. I don't know what.
I didn't ask for a unicorn, but I don't know what happened. It was bad.
So you got Merlin, the desiccated, drunken
he's
magician.
Scary. He's like a wizard. But look at the skulls.
The skulls.
Why would you put skulls in a happy dream?
Yeah. Well, they're smiling. They are happy skulls.
They're smiling. I don't think that. I think they're. It looks like the angel of death with a unicorn and a troll.
But understand, there were acrylic painters in the 60s and 70s who would spend a month painting
Remember
this.
that woman who did the smiling children with the big eyes? Yeah.
So, I mean, somebody...
Let me see if I sent you any more.
Well, here's the one with more gentle sort of horses of the guy dreaming. But let's see if... Do you have a steampunk tato?
No, it's not there. No, you can't. Okay. It's not scrolling in pictures. I had to go,
What? Yeah. Excuse me. Pardon me. So
this is not the potato one, but you can get back this way. But I'm looking for the
steampunk tato is really cute.
No.
I saved these. I tried to anyway.
Steam tato. Here we go. Oh, David, here.
Oh, we have. No, we love the steam tato.
They're adorable. There's two of them.
So Joyce was like, please AI again, talking to a computer.
I think
please.
It's Dolly.
Oh, DALL. It's like Wall E. They do Doll E. So please, Doll E. Can you design a very cute potato with a hat?
I think
And in steampunk mode.
No, the
first one was just what?
I don't know. I think we just said with with a pom-pom nose and like normal, and a hat. And then we made him steampunk, I think.
So here's the initial one.
He's so cute.
AI created that.
That's adorable. Look at the eyes. He's got those beautiful, full eyes with weeping.
Like that painter with the big eye, eyes woman.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. Right.
The second one is the one you really like.
Well, the second one is genius.
Wait, hold it a little closer.
Oh, this one? Yeah.
And, he's adorable, David. Oh, adorable.
So there. And then Joyce is like...
Show them the nose is a heart, a little heart.
Yeah, I can make that bigger.
Yeah, I want to see that.
And this is as big as I can make it, but look, you can see. You can see it.
Oh, he's so cute.
How many weeks of R&D would Mattel, back in 1950-something...
They would have to have somebody draw it, color it, And
now, Joyce said, hey, what about making... Did you say steampunk?
Yeah,
or did you say
I said steampunk because I had a conversation with people recently about steampunk.
AI created this out of Joyce talking to it for 10 seconds. And then 20 seconds later, this appeared. A steampunk potato with...
Oh, my goodness.
Isn't he...
Hold the real one and just
yeah.
This is... And they didn't use this as a guide. This is... Oh, wait, David, fix it.
Here we go.
They did not have him as an image.
Yeah. It's not as if Joyce said...
I did say make it a purple pom-pom nose and may wear a hat, so I did give it some and put eyes on it, but they did not have this potato as a guide. Right. So this is what we're already dealing with, and what designers and graphic designers must be absolutely over the moon about. Because, although again, if I were an art teacher teaching now in high school and in university, I'd start to wonder. But even we saw on the British show, in the makers, the one maker who makes stuff, she's a painter, but she's also a digital visual artist, and she's a maker of visual art. So her art is all digital like this. Oh, all right. So if this is a digital art, it's not that... It's still a creative endeavor. Yeah. But then Joyce tells this machine, this co-pilot, David, tells co-pilot, hey, here's a band called Janusz and the Weasels. Could you write an origin story?
And the amazing thing is, it could and it did. This is really the let me just find that. I gotta pull up Janusz and the Boom Weasels. This is the story that a non-person wrote. Okay. AI, could you please write something about Janusz and the Boom? Certainly. Let's dive into the whimsical world of Janusz and the Boom Weasels. So whatever intelligence this thing has, immediately placed it in the realm of The Hobbit,
Yes.
Bilbo Baggins, that whole sort of operatic fairy world.
Yeah.
For no reason, I mean, didn't tell it to do that.
No.
It sort of made this creative, artistic decision
Yes.
to be like, okay, let me do something fantastical in fairyland. Band name, Janusz and the Boom Weasels. Genre, eclectic fusion rock. Backstory. Backstory. Again, if you are a 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade teacher and your child kid turned this in, you think, oh, that's a clever kid. You wouldn't think, oh, this is automatic writing, this is hallucinogenic bullshit. This is a cute story. In the heart of a forgotten forest, where the leaves whispered secrets and the moon hummed forgotten melodies, there existed an odd little band called Janusz and the Boom Weasels. Their music was as peculiar as their name, a wild blend of rock, funk, and cosmic jazz that defied all conventions. Remember, first of all, this is completely readable, and it's clever.
But I do think that AI loves cosmic. Look how it put the unicorn. It loves the cosmic stuff.
Or, as soon as it started going, it kept feeding on its own cosmic tube.
Maybe it got in
like
that mood.
on another computer from another.
Yeah, because one time I was working with the woman who does my colleague.
Yeah.
She's very into tech. We got something and it looked different, and she said, "Oh, that's a filter. Like, don't leave your filters on."
Oh.
So it might be we had a cosmic filter on everything.
Or something like that. Yeah. Because it starts to feel, oh, they want something cosmic. We'll keep giving it cosmic, no matter what they put in. So here's the band names. Janusz, the dreamer. Janusz, the enigmatic frontman, was a lanky fellow.
Wow.
With mismatched socks.
What?
Mismatched socks and a perpetually furrowed brow.
Wow.
His eyes held galaxies, and his voice carried the weight of forgotten constellations. Legend, this is like if a student wrote this next thing, I would be like, double check if I were a creative writing teacher.
Yeah.
Legend had it that he once serenaded a meteor shower into submission. AI, which apparently has no creativity, has no brain, has no soul, no heart, thought of that.
We have ours on the most creative though, David, that's why.
He serenaded a meteor shower into submission. Okay, that's.
Then he got scared by that scary unicorn screaming in his dream.
But I mean, who's the guy who wrote Naked Lunch? I mean, William Burroughs you know, his instrument of choice. This is where they get a kazoo. And by the way, this is how they write it. His instrument of choice, a kazoo. Yes, a kazoo. It already second guesses how idiotic you think that answer is by saying, yes, a kazoo. But when Janusz played it, the heavens wept and the stars danced. And now here's some information about the Boom Weasels. The band's other members were equally eccentric. There was Waldo, the wobbly bassoonist, who wore a top hat adorned with blinking fairy lights. His bassoon emitted low rumbles that could shake the roots of ancient oaks. Somebody who developed AI had to have loved fantasy.
Sci-fi.
Zara, the zany drummer, had a penchant for wearing mismatched shoes, which I guess goes with Janusz's mismatched socks, right?
How could you stand in mismatched shoes?
And notice that they're at least there's equality here. Her drum kit was a mishmash of pots, pans, and a rusty bicycle wheel.
Ew.
Which actually kicks back to Zappa and the Mothers, because Zappa played a bicycle wheel on Steve Allen. When she played, time itself stumbled and twirled.
What?
Time itself stumbled and twirled.
That's beautiful.
If I know a 12-year-old girl writing stories like this, I'd be like, you're going to be a novelist. Gus, the galactic guitarist, was a recluse who communicated with the stars through Morse code.
Wow.
His guitar strings were spun from stardust, and his solos could unravel the fabric of reality. I only wish my college students could write lines like that.
Well,
Some of them do.
It's generated.
And then there was Luna, the luminous saxophonist, who claimed to have been born during a lunar eclipse.
That makes sense.
Her saxophone wove melodies that could heal broken hearts and summon moonbeams. I mean, I keep having to tell myself, AI.
Yeah.
Their debut gig. The band's first gig took place at the Whimsy Hollow Tea House, a mystical venue hidden behind a waterfall. I mean, they're getting into, they're masturbatorily getting into the whole.
Spinning.
The audience consisted of talking squirrels, fireflies, and a curious gnome named Professor Quibblewobble. This is already getting way too cute. I mean, we should just put a note, like in the revision, less cute. Please.
Yeah, make it more serious.
As Janusz blew into his kazoo, the boom weasels followed suit. The forest quivered, and the teacups rattled.
Oh.
The squirrels tap danced, and the fireflies formed constellations in midair.
Wow.
Professor Quibblewobble wept openly, as one would, declaring, "This is the sound of forgotten dreams and cosmic giggles." I know. I don't know whether to laugh or cough. Their hit single, Quantum Jive, began with a kazoo solo that transcended dimensions, as they would. Waldo's bassoon grooved like a caffeinated caterpillar. And they love the alliteration here. They're going so overboard. It's not, Janusz and the Boom Weasels has no alliteration in it at all, but they're just going nuts with it. While Zara's improvised drumming defied the laws of rhythm.
Yeah, because she had two different shoes and she was playing a bicycle wheel.
Gus's guitar wailed like a supernova, and Luna's saxophone weaved through alternate realities. And yes, if you were wondering about the lyrics, I'm sure you were, the chorus went, "We're the Boom Weasels." Dancing through quasars,
Yes.
Janusz's kazoo, our cosmic navigator, in the interstellar groove will jive and sway, for the universe itself is our grand cabaret. So some of the lyrics not really scanning like lyrics would, but there they are.
Yeah.
Sway and cabaret, and it's a brilliant rhyme.
Yeah. I think we did the album covers, but I don't.
Yeah.
think
Well,
I
it's actually 1 minute to 10. So
I'm
to
sorry,
be fair to our guest, I want to bring on into the Daverhood actually two amazing people. One of them is, of course,
when you bring in your friend, could you ask the gentleman?
Yeah.
Because we all are writers. Ask him what his thoughts are of AI too.
Oh, you know what? Yeah. I mean, he's an emeritus teacher, so I don't think he teaches anymore. But
would you like?
I would love a tea.
Okay.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, but honey. Coming into the Daverhood, in a moment or two, Rabbi Sol Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York, and Rabbi Sol has been with us since our very first episode. He's a theater lover. He's a stage performer. He did a show called Shalom Dammit, An Evening with Rabbi Sol Solomon, off Broadway almost 10 years ago now, more than 10 years ago. God, how time flies. But anyway, he will be chatting with Sam Leiter, who is a very, very long-time theater critic and educator and an expert on directing as well as Asian and Japanese theater. So it should be a rather really interesting combo.
Magical from a cosmic universe, and can his words make time stop and go transcend the millennia? Well,
I wonder, does CUNY...
Does he talk to the stars, and does he...
Well, he's interviewed
does he weep openly like the gnome?
Well, when he reads student papers, I'm sure he weeps openly. If CUNY was with a K, like Cosmic University of the Netherworld.
Yesterday,
yeah. Now, if CUNY's that, then he's that. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you, the next voice you hear will be very, very Jewish. Rabbi Sol Solomon. I wonder if the bull weasels do cosmic klezmer. Hey, hey! Diddle, diddle, die. Die, diddle, 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 diddle. Die, diddle, die, die, die. Oh, shalom, my friends, and shalom, my enemies. This is your old pal, Rabbi Sol Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And what a delight I will have today, because I will be talking to a theater person. I mean a serious theater person. I mean a person who has been reviewing and critiquing in both a commercial and an academic way Broadway, off-Broadway, off-Broadway theater all over the country, all over the world. As a matter of fact, he is an expert in theater of Japan and Asian cultures. He is also, because of his many, many years teaching at Brooklyn College, he has experienced directing a number of plays and musicals. He has also written and or edited and or co-edited and or co-written more than 30 books about the theater. He's written about Shakespeare. He's even put together theater encyclopedias. My God, the man is a treasure trove. And you can still read his reviews because he writes for places like theaterlife.com and theaterpizzazz.com, and he even has his own blog that we're going to ask about as soon as he kind of trying to get him in there. I'm stalling now. I'm stalling because he was in the waiting room. And now he's sort of vanished and he's having some issues coming in. Oh, I hear him. I hear him. Shalom.
I'm here.
Shmuel! Hello, shalom to you, Shmuel. Shmuel Leiter, a.k.a. Samuel L. Leiter.
Shmuel Abe Leiter.
I love it. I love it. I love it. What do you remember about your bar mitzvah?
What year was 1953?
And do you remember, did you have a party, or back then it was just like...
Oh, yeah, we had a big temple party at the Sherry Zedek in Brooklyn on St. John's Place.
Oh, my God. And do you remember, do you have any memory of your Haftorah portion?
Yes, I almost fainted. It was so hot that they had to take me out of the temple into the back room to cool down. It was like 100 degrees, unair conditioned, and I couldn't stand it anymore. So I got to say it, but I didn't see the entire ceremony.
Oh my God, wow, because Judaism is about suffering. No matter what,
Yeah.
even on your bar mitzvah day, God is reminding you, it's not going to be a happy life. But I think you have had, thanks to the theater on some level, a pretty happy life all these years.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember the first theatrical production you ever saw?
Yes, 1945.
1945.
1945. My parents took me to see Dark of the Moon, a play about witchcraft in the South and the kind of spiritual, religious, backwoods kind of thing. And it was very, very popular. And that was the first thing. I can still vaguely remember it because they used scrims and I saw magical things happening on the stage.
I
was 5 years old.
Who was that? Odette or Inge, or who wrote that one? I don't remember. I've heard
Pardon?
Who wrote the play? Was it
Howard Richardson?
This I do, but
it's actually been a play that's been done over the years a number of times, and the original production was directed by the great Peter Brook. So I didn't know that at the time.
How old were you?
I was 5 years old.
So they took you to. I mean, weren't you scarified? Weren't you sitting there like?
I
"Ah."
was. I guess I was. Yes, because if I could still remember it now, almost 80 years later, yeah.
But it didn't put you off the theater. Were you amazed?
No, no.
So, what's another show that you saw in the 1940s, presumably on Broadway? Do you
Right.
remember?
Oh, I lost you.
Oh, hello, Shmuel.
There you are. Okay.
Hello, I'm back. What's
Uh,
another show
I
that you
think a great memory was 1950
okay.
when a neighbor's daughter said that she had a spare ticket to the original production of South Pacific. Now, I was 10 years old, and she said she's got this extra ticket. She can't use it. And actually, she had just the one ticket. And she asked if my parents would let me go. Now, I was living in East Flatbush near Brownsville, and I had to go to the city, to the Majestic Theater, all by myself on the IRT,
A 10-year-old. Yeah.
10-year-old, because it's 1950. And I took the Saratoga Avenue train from Saratoga Avenue in Brooklyn. And I went all the way to the city on my own. And my parents picked me up after the show and took us to Lindy's.
Oh, for Jesus, that's more memorable than any show. Well, no. Was Mary Martin still in it?
No, she wasn't in it. Martha Wright was in it. Her
Martha
substitute.
Ray? Martha or Wright?
Martha Wright.
Right, Martha Wright was in it.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. All right.
So it
So
wasn't it was a year after the original show had opened, but it was still running. It was a big hit.
it's great. It's South Pacific for
So I
gosh.
saw the original South Pacific at 10 years old on my own and traveled to the city to see it by myself.
So at that point, were you hooked? At that point, did you even know by like high school?
Oh, I knew that I was going to somehow be involved in theater. I just loved theater, but I didn't know in what way.
So how well did you try your hand at all the different? Did you act in high
Oh,
school?
I acted a lot. Yeah, I acted. I directed later on. I was actually a master's MFA in directing at the University of Hawaii at the same time that Bette Midler was at school at the University of Hawaii. She was an undergraduate. I was a graduate.
So did you interested? Were you in a play with her? Were you?
No, actually, I didn't. I saw her in a play when she was just, a kid, but I didn't actually get to know her.
Well, when you saw her in a play, did she stand out, or was she just good, like a lot of kids are good?
Just another kid. I was a graduate student. She was an undergraduate. I didn't pay much attention, and only realized years later when I was looking at programs from the time I was there. Bette Midler and her sister, who later died in a tragic car accident in New York, was there work, and I have programs of them working on sets and lighting backstage on the crew.
Let me ask, why Hawaii though? I mean, if you knew theater was going to be your thing, why not study at either USC,
Oh,
UCLA, or New
well,
York or Chicago?
Hawaii was as far away as I could get from my mother, so I went to the University of Hawaii as a way to escape, and at the same time, because I wanted to study Japanese theater, which I'd gotten into in college. And the guy who ran the department had written the book that I had studied in class, and I happened to see his name on a poster advertising for assistantships at the University of Hawaii graduate program. And I said, without having finished his book, I said, I'd like to study under you and come out to Hawaii at a time when there was a great deal of interest, post-war interest in Japanese culture. And I got a full 2-year fellowship to the University of Hawaii, which sent me to Japan to study for my master's thesis. And but all serendipitously, because I happened to see his name on a poster, and I said, "I love your work. I love your book. I'd like to come out and study with you," which was really not that true.
Well, yes and no.
In a little way, I had read one chapter,
Oh, I thought you maybe halfway through it, you were like,
right? But there was a link, and it got me out there.
because if I were some parent or professor hearing this, I'm like, no, you just want to go to Hawaii for 2 years. If they're giving courses on, lumberjacks, it's like, yeah, well, I'm very interested in lumber, and you bring your surfboard with you. But let me ask, what was it at that young age about Asian and Japanese theater that just caught you?
Well, I was in this class with professor named Bernie Barrow, who was actually a very popular actor. He played the lead on the television show series called Ryan's Hope, which was a long running soap opera. He had us read this book by Earl Ernst called The Kabuki Theater. And there was one chapter in it that really got my interest about the runway through the audience. And I said, well, that's something that if I were at the time, there was a lot of experimental theater going on, audience and actors mixing and so forth. And I thought that was a great idea because it had not yet been something that became popular in American theater, this kind of audience relationship to the actors. And I was so fascinated by the use of this architectural unit that went through the theater for the entrances and exits of all the major scenes in the theater, something like the runway that you see in burlesque or so forth. And it actually came from this runway in the Japanese theater. And it just fascinated me. So I thought, well, I'd like to go out there and study that. And I had no idea what I was getting into, but on the basis of that one chapter and that one architectural feature, it changed my life.
It's rather, and it is interesting that the first show you ever saw was directed by Peter Brook, who was another person who ended up, changing the mechanics of where the audience is in relation to the show and things like Marasad and stuff like that. So
Right.
I'm surprised you didn't catch it from Peter Brook, just osmotically
I don't even know if Peter Brook, as I remember, may not actually have been involved in the New York production, but the original production was directed by Peter Brook in England.
So once you started, learning about Japanese and Asian theater and kabuki and especially kabuki, I mean, beyond the audience relationship, what else intrigued you and how did you incorporate that, if at all, when you were directing all those shows at CUNY and Brooklyn College many years later?
Well, I didn't do it too often because the opportunities to include that kind of material in in American or Western theater were not that many. But as my master's degree project, I directed a play by Brecht called The Caucasian Chalk Circle. And my choice was to take everything I had studied about the kabuki theater and make the kabuki experience part of the play, part of the Caucasian Chalk Circle, which is set in Georgia. In Georgia, actually, not our Georgia, but the Georgia in near Russia and Tbilisi and so forth. And so I transposed all these techniques of the Japanese theater with poses and the costumes were based on kimono. And so it was what later became called fusion theater. Fusion theater is actually a movement from the last 30 or 40, maybe a little bit more years, and this preceded that, of taking two cultures and assimilating them so that they become an artistic unity. And so using Chinese techniques in a Western play or Japanese or Indonesian or whatever.
Nowadays, Japanese people will holler at you and call it appropriation.
Yes, exactly. But still, it's a very common technique, and it's called fusion theater.
Yeah. No, and by the way, how many times have you directed Pacific Overtures? I'm just wondering.
How many times have I directed what?
Pacific Overtures. Because you must.
I haven't actually ever directed it, but I was involved as a somewhat critical viewer of the original production because I thought that they had sort of mishandled some of the Japanese theatrical techniques. So I was being very purist oriented, and the way I responded was, "Oh, I know more than they do," and so I got involved. I was actually in a discussion at the Asia Society in which several of the people in the show participated, and I was being a little bit of a prig about, what they could have done. And
prig with a G, ladies and gentlemen, but yeah, all right.
Right, with a PRIG, right. And but yeah, so I was basically involved in that on a kind of academic level, but I've never actually directed it.
Now, you are a member of the Drama Desk and some other societies like that. At what point did you begin theater criticism? as opposed to being a director, being working from
Well,
that?
I had retired, and I retired from Brooklyn College in 2007,
Okay.
and I followed up in my retirement because I was only 67 at the time, and I still had a long life to live. I
Alibi.
hope.
Yeah. What are you,
Alibi,
76?
alibi.
How old are you now?
83.
I thought you were. I swear to God, you look 40. This is how. What is your secret? Before we get back to the thing, how the heck? I mean, I'm serious. You're 83.
Yeah.
I mean, you're 2 years older than Joseph Biden, and I wish you were president. What the fuck? How do you do it?
Well, I would not want to be president. I don't think I have the energy to be president. I'll tell you that. Getting up in the morning, just putting on a suit every day, a suit and tie, I think that would knock me out.
And you
But
think Biden does that? So no, I'm kidding. All right, but
the secret is taking a nap every day. You have to take a nap. You have to open a book, wait 15 minutes, and pretty soon you'll be out. That's my secret.
this is my life also. So all right, but so you weren't reviewing theater until you retired.
No, no, I never reviewed a play. Actually, I once or twice I tried, maybe twice, two reviews in maybe when I was in my 40s or 50s for a local newspaper, but that was it. In 2012, I got a call. This is 5 years after I retired, and I was doing my research and my writing for other projects. I was going to the theater maybe 10 or 12 times a year. It wasn't because it was expensive, and my wife would go with me, and that would be double the price if we went to a Broadway show, and a lot of money involved. And I had family issues, so I really wasn't going that much at that time. And I got a call in 2012 from the people who ran the drama desk. Would I like to be involved as a nominator for the drama desk, which meant you had to go to see every show that was drama desk eligible. And it was like they were telling me you can now go to the theater and see everything for free, and in most cases take somebody with you.
Yep, yep.
So I said, what? It's
Win-win.
like, the candy store was open, so I took advantage, and I realized after I got involved that, you know what, because every week we had to, or every 2 weeks after we saw 7 or 8 or 10 or 12 or 15 shows, it was 300 shows a year.
Yep, yep.
And we would get together for a meeting as it was run then. It's not the same way now. And you would have this meeting where you sat with 5 or 6 other members of your nominating committee and you discussed the plays. And I realized in the discussion of the plays that maybe I had something to say. I'm not saying what I said was great or brilliant, but I was able to express myself in a way with other professionals in a way that I'd never been able to do before. And then I also realized that in order to become a permanent or a more lasting member of the drama desk, I would have to have some proof that I was doing this. So I started a blog where I started to cover all the shows. About 3 months or 4 months into doing it, I secretly started a blog writing reviews, and that eventually became where people asked me, "Oh, would you write for my blog or my website? Would you write for my website?" Eventually, I was doing it for 3 websites, one of which is I'm not writing for anymore. But it only happened because I was creating something for myself to permanently record what I was thinking. Also, because at the end of every season, when you had to consider all the plays that you had seen that season, I had a record of it. I had written it up, and I knew I could go back and see what did I think about this play and that play and so forth. So it all happened when I was 72 years old, writing my first reviews on a regular basis, and from
And
there,
you're not on. Are you still in the nominating committee, or you're gonna have to see?
no, no, I did 2 years. That was it. It's a
It
hell
burns
of a
you out.
job.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's seeing all those shows, and especially I live out near JFK, so it's getting on the train. In those days I used to drive into the city, but I would the traveling back and forth, and I would go. I'd sometimes see 5 shows in a weekend. I'd see a Friday night, I'd see 2 matinees on Saturday and Sunday each, and a matinee on Saturday and Sunday, and an evening show when there was one, and sometimes a third because there might be a children's show
Yep.
on a Saturday morning. So it was, a real mishigas. So
It's a nutty. Dave, I haven't, but Dave, who produces this program, lived that for many, many. And he was living on Long Island and dealing with all that. So yeah, he would.
right.
Exactly. Let me ask you though, in that period of seeing, what was the worst thing you ever saw?
It's hard to say because I used to have, I would write reviews and eventually I'd start to put stars, or I had a little figure of myself, a cartoon figure with the thumbs up and the thumbs down. And when it became a two thumbs down, that really meant it was off
Right.
the charts bad. But I don't want to pick anyone out
Oh,
in
no, come on.
particular
There
because
had to be things
if
like.
I could even remember.
Oh yes, you can. Okay, there had to be one where just was like you're sitting there like the audience and the producers at the end of Springtime for Hitler, like, come on, gotta be something that you remember just was
Well,
so
the thing with the
unbearable.
drama desk when you were nominating and you had to see everything was they had a rule. You could not walk out in the middle of the show.
Yeah.
And you could fall asleep, but you could not walk out. They had a rule, that a 5 block rule. At least this was the head of the drama desk's
Was
rule.
that William Wolf back then, or?
5 block. You don't speak to your partner or whoever you're with or
Oh yeah.
anybody else about the show for 5 blocks, because somebody could be listening, somebody from the show. And since the show at that time probably hadn't opened yet, but we saw it all in previews, they didn't want us to divulge our opinions publicly, even talking in the street.
Yeah.
And that I've seen over the years. When I stopped being a member of the nominating committee, I would start talking to somebody in the street, and somebody would be walking alongside. Oh, you really thought that? Or you really thought, oh, I thought it was great. Well, I thought it. So people do hear what you're talking about when you're walking out of the theater.
All right. So you sidestepped the question there. What show would you wish you could have walked out of 10 minutes in? There must have been.
Yeah, there were so many. Dave, we're talking about Rabbi.
Oh,
We're talking about
600 shows.
2,500, 3,000 shows over the last 13 or so years. So it's impossible to really. I remember seeing something down at, I think it was at the Connolly Theater on East 4th Street. And it was a Marx Brothers show. It was based upon one of the Marx Brothers shows, and they try to recreate the style of the Marx
Was it
Brothers.
room
And
service? It was probably room
it
because
wasn't room service. It
coconuts they
wasn't.
did.
It was
Coconut.
one of the coconuts, or
Huh.
one of the ones from the 20s. Ducks. I can't recall which one,
Yeah.
but I really thought it was bad, and I said what I thought in my review, and somebody from the show, the writer of the show, got back to me and challenged me on how did I know this, that, and the other. I pointed something out, and I showed him the research that I had done, where I quoted exactly how they had altered something that was in the original show. So he himself realized that he had made a mistake. That's exclusive of the fact that it was badly done, but the fact that they'd made such an egregious mistake, and he didn't accept it at first, and then when I pointed it out, quoting from another source. So I remember that incident because the show was not only bad, but had gone off the tracks in another way.
So let me ask a question that I'm sure you won't have trouble answering. What are one or two of the best shows you've ever seen?
Again, we're talking about
I know.
enormously, with 2 or 3,000 shows. I can say this season, or last season, it would have been actually the show that I enjoyed most is a show that's still running off Broadway, and that I think was just for sheer enjoyment and pleasure, was a musical called Titanic, or Titanic. It's
Oh,
a spoof on. I just had a great time at that, where they do Celine Dion is a character, or a character based on her, and they do a takeoff on the movie. So that's a show I really enjoyed. It doesn't compare perhaps with the greats, that the the Leopold Stotts and so forth like that, but
But you had a
That was
fantastic
the show
time.
that it's just for sheer mindless entertainment. I enjoyed.
Now, by the way, we should mention, you talk about a blog. Your blog is SL Leiter, Leiter, right?
But better simply to go to theater's lighter side.
That's easier.
Yeah,
Theaters spelled with an RE or an ER.
with an RE.
Theater, no apostrophe.
Yes,
Theaters.
there is an apostrophe. Yes.
Wait,
Theater's
how do you have an
it's
apostrophe?
possessive.
Uh, wait.
Theater's lighter side. It's the lighter side belonging to theater. So
If you
theater's
put that
lighter
in the
side.
URL, or are you Googling that?
Pardon?
Are you Googling that, or is that the URL?
All you have to do, no, you don't have to just Google theater's lighter side.
All right, got it. Theaters
And that's
Leiter
the easiest way to remember it.
and Leiter, Leiter for your name.
Exactly.
Leiter.
That's the pun, so to speak.
And that
Two
brings
thirds
us
of
to
the
the
pun.
blog.
PU.
Yeah. So, and your blog has probably hundreds of reviews on it by now, since it's been
Well,
going.
now I used to write almost all my reviews. I started out writing all the reviews on that blog, and then as other people started to ask me to write for their more sophisticated websites, my blog is just a blog on on Google, and then I started writing for blogs that had advertisements and all the rest of this stuff. I started to increasingly write for them and then post a link on Theater's Lighter Side. So all you can find all the reviews. It'll say for my review C, but so Theater's Lighter Side remains active. I also write book reviews on that blog. So every time I write every week or two another book review of about book, usually a book about theater. So I've recently written reviews of well, quite a number of books. Anybody can go to the website and find it.
Now, you're welcome to give a plug to the other places that you write for. So, is Theater Pizzazz is still there? Is that
Theater Pizzazz, very active with an ER. Theater Life with an ER,
right?
Still there. I have to remember to add the ER and take away the RE when I write those reviews, except for those theaters that are still called ER.
No, yeah, it's just that that's such a or make the theater buy two URLs. Just have
Right.
the RE, have the ER. It costs you $20 a year.
Theater, right.
Yeah. Anywho, we're talking with Samuel L. Leiter about his life in the theater. Let's also talk about your life as a educator. What was like the most rewarding thing about teaching theater to college students for many years?
Well, it was a secure profession and a way to stay in the theater because you could talk about, teach theater, and also do theater in a way that you didn't have to worry, where's my next job coming from? So, although I was involved in theater professionally for a while, when I got out of college, I was mostly, and even when I was in college, summer stock and so forth. I had a family by that time. I had a kid, and I had friends. Many of my friends went on and became very, successful in the theater as either directors, or playwrights, actors. But I went the more conventional route. I became a college professor and got my doctorate when I was 27. And so
we gotta do this now. You gotta name drop. So, who are some of the people that you started out with, whose names we would know? If you're a theater person, not necessarily a big Hollywood star.
People may remember Dominic Chianese, who
Sure.
played Uncle Junior on Sopranos, or there was Herb Edelman, who played Maud's husband, B. Arthur's husband, and on TV.
Well, it was
And
like Golden Girls. He was the husband.
Golden Girls, right? And
yeah.
Joel Zwick, who directed My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and also countless TV sitcoms that he originated. And so a lot of people, not necessarily superstars of the Meryl Streep variety, but all important, well-known working actors and directors. Yeah.
How about some of your students? Did any of your students go on to?
I think you would probably know the name Jimmy Smits.
Heard of
In
him.
fact, Jimmy Smits from LA Law, NYPD, and right now on East New York, a TV show. And in fact, the book that I recently wrote about the theater in Brooklyn is dedicated to him.
Now, thank you for bringing that. Why did you he was your student. Why particularly him? Did you interview him for the book, or no?
No, I didn't interview because the book is written is about 19th century
Yeah.
theater, and he's not that old. He's in his 60s. So, but because he was such a wonderful, we're still friends, and he played a important part of my life, and I directed him in a kabuki play, an actual kabuki play, back in 1976 at Brooklyn College, and that sometimes actually clips of which have been shown on national television. Who is this? And you see him with the makeup and so on, and you have to. That's Jimmy Smith. So
That's my guess. So
yeah,
let's talk. Thank you for reminding me to bring up the book. Brooklyn Takes the Stage, published by McFarlane and Company. So
right.
Brooklyn, it's well, you say 1970s, but no, you go back to like the 1800s. The point was before Manhattan. Thank you for showing. Yeah. Hold it
Yeah.
up. You can hold it up.
Okay.
Can't hold this. But it's more about like before New York City. Okay, Brooklyn had this own kind of Broadway, off Broadway big scene. Yes.
Brooklyn was a major theater city. Brooklyn was, until 1890, the third largest city in America. 1890, it was surpassed by Chicago and became the fourth largest. So when you come into Brooklyn off the Verrazano, it says, welcome to the fourth largest city in America. Not a city anymore, but it was an independent city from 1834 to 1898. January 1st, 1898, Brooklyn became part of Greater New York. Bronx, Brooklyn, Staten Island, so forth. And this is the history of Brooklyn until that point. What was Brooklyn theater like? Because there were no movies, obviously, no TV. Theater was the major form of entertainment, but Brooklyn had a huge population and it needed to have some form of entertainment, which, of course, was inevitable. But it took a long time for Brooklyn to have a theater, although it tried many, many times, because there was a strong puritanical influence in Brooklyn from the people who had come down from Boston, the New England area, into Brooklyn, settled the Puritan religious establishment. And the most famous of them, Henry Ward Beecher, the brother of Harriet Beecher Stowe, who wrote Uncle Tom's Cabin, he was anti-theatrical, even though his sister's book, Uncle Tom's Cabin, became the most popular play as a play when it was adapted for the stage of the 19th century. But he was against the theater and railed against it, as did many other preachers, until he eventually, later in life, started to change his attitude, became friends with some of the big names in the theater, like Henry Irving and Ellen Terry, when they visited America. And so he started to kind of adapt to the more liberal policies of or approach to the theater, while still through the 19th century there was a strong anti-theatrical prejudice in Brooklyn, which is why there was no permanent building as dealing with theater or dealing even with entertainment arts until 1861, when the Brooklyn Academy of Music opened. Not the Brooklyn Academy of Music that we have today that was on Montague Street. It burned down in 1906 and then was rebuilt. The one we go to the Brooklyn Academy, be at BAM now, in 1912. That's the building that's on the corner of Lafayette and Ashland Place. But until the Brooklyn Academy of Music, there was no established building. They were in various temporary locales. And then, even when they opened the Brooklyn Academy of Music, they would not allow theater. You could do dance, you could do opera, you could do concerts, but you couldn't do theater for almost a year. There was a battle back and forth in the newspapers. And once they won the battle, the pro theater people, by the end of 1861, theater started to rush in, and you had theaters opening up gradually over the years. Over the years, there may have been 50 different theaters went in business, out of business, so that by 1898, you had a dozen or more theaters, full scale, legitimate theaters operating in competition with New York, because the whole issue was, would Brooklyn citizens go to the theaters in Brooklyn, or would they go across? Because that was their pattern. Brooklyn could not possibly compete. Brooklyn theater could not possibly be as good as the theater across the river. So until the bridge was built, people had to go mainly by ferry. And even then, they had to take a cab or a hansom a taxi, a horse and buggy, or the other forms of public transportation, horse car, to get to the bridge. Then they had to go, or rather to the ferry. Then they had to go by ferry across into the city. Then they had to travel, and they prefer to do that rather than going down to Fulton Street or the other part
But
of
that's
Brooklyn.
what I don't understand. Why? I mean, they from 1861 to 1898, they stayed in Brooklyn. Brooklyn was able to succeed theatrically, no matter what was happening in Manhattan. What was it about 18 and into the early 1900s that people say, we'd rather schlep than stay?
That was simply the built-in prejudice, that the snobbery of people thinking that theater had to be better in New York. Not that it may not have been. I mean, but there was the theaters in Brooklyn up until the 1870s. The style or the organizational pattern of theater, as it was elsewhere in the country, were stock theaters. So you had a group of actors who were hired for the season, and they did a new play every week or every 2 weeks, and so forth. And there were different quality actors involved or different quality managements, people who ran the theaters. And they were sometimes were rather schlocky and sometimes they were rather high class. But there was a huge competition because or rivalry with the city and the city of New York, people trying to go to what they thought was the best. And Brooklyn was always bragging about how good it was here. Stay in Brooklyn, go to the theater locally, don't bother going. And that's an argument that you see go throughout my book of the back and forth that went on in terms of the rivalry between Brooklyn trying to rival the city. Of course, Brooklyn was essentially a bedroom community. It was where people who lived and worked in New York went at night to go home to their families and sleep and get up in the morning and go into the city again. So people were used to going back and forth over the bridge, or when the bridge was built in
No, but
1883.
it always struck me, someone who has a synagogue in Great Neck, New York, and is part of the Long Island, never understood why Long Island never took off. It's like people who had to go by train for an hour and a half into and come to Broadway or up Broadway, and yet Long Island, there was the Gateway. There's a playhouse in Northport. It just for decades it's there, and people there's a lot of student stuff, where you teach dance class and kids take drama classes. But in terms of a set, good Long Island theater three, I mean, I never understood why. Never understood why it never took a foothold.
Well, because again, the cachet of theater in New York, Broadway, there's a certain feeling that and there are a number of theaters in Long Island, but they're mostly amateur or community
Right.
theaters.
Yeah.
There's a professional, semi-professional theater in Elmont uh, that is not far from the Cross Island Expressway, which does pretty good work. They do 3 or 4 shows there a year, and I've been there.
And Bay,
But
Bay Street, way out on the East End with
but
Richmond.
then right, you've got the John Drew Theater out in the Hamptons, which is professional, highly quality, but it's basically summer theater and it's for the local community when there's people there in the summer. But you don't have the kind of ongoing theater because it's not that well populated when you think of people spread out all over Long Island. It's not like the density that you have in an urban environment like New York.
So
People aren't coming from out of town. Most of the people who go to the theater on Broadway now are from out of town. You go to any Broadway show or stand online on a Broadway to go into a Broadway show. Almost everybody is from out of town. They've gotten their tickets way in advance and paying these exorbitant prices. But it's a destination as opposed to a theater that's in Alpag.
yeah. Well, let me ask you then. Still a couple of questions about the theater and about your book. Does the book sort of kind of stop at turn of the century, or do you talk about Brooklyn theater over the past 50, 60, 70 years?
I give a summary.
Yeah.
I give a summary of what happened after.
Yeah.
So you get to see the gradual diminution of theatrical activity as movies come in and as the legitimate theaters are converted to movie houses, and then the onslaught of the movie palaces, Loews Pitkin, and various theaters all around the city that the neighborhood theaters where you could just go a few blocks and see a play, a show, a movie rather, in your neighborhood. So the theater becomes less and less visible in Brooklyn as movies take over, and then TV, of course. And so by 1935, I have a quote in the book somewhere that there wasn't a single professional theater left in Brooklyn after all of the theater that had transpired. And what they did have were touring companies, where they had the subway circuit. So people would, there were troops of actors, sometimes with well-known actors in the leads, going from the Bronx to Brooklyn to Manhattan to the upper West Side, but the Upper East Side, and into the northernmost parts of the city to perform at local movie theaters or whatever was available as venues. So you had the subway circuit, and you could see the advertisements in the newspapers of the 30s and 40s for shows that were playing at on Flatbush Avenue or wherever, but they would only be for a week and then they move on. So I do cover that until even that disappears. And by the 1940s, even the Brooklyn Academy is not doing theater per se; it's doing everything but. Only in the 1960s, when the Brooklyn Academy started to doing theater under the auspices of Harvey Lichtenstein, who became the head honcho, the artistic manager, director of what they now call BAM. And in the late 60s, you had the Chelsea Theater Center taking residence at the Brooklyn Academy of Music. And then you had companies like Peter Brooks and others coming and playing in their venues. Eventually, that became so popular that they created their own theater, taking an old theater, legitimate theater on Fulton Street nearby, which was called the Majestic Theater, and converting it into the Harvey, which is, as you know, on Fulton Street. Yeah. And you can see all these great European companies that come and play at the Harvey. And now you have other theaters scattered around, professional theaters. But it's not like, it's temporary. It's the Polanski Shakespeare Center, a theater on a block or two away on Ashland.
They've got theater for a new audience there. They've had them for about
theater for a new audience, exactly. Those are highly professional, but they do 3 or 4 shows a year, and it's not like every week 15 theaters competing against each other with vaudeville theaters. There were 4 vaudeville theaters in the 1890s, so that you could have your fill just by staying in Brooklyn. It's impossible to have gone. You couldn't go through a week if you try to see everything. It would not have been possible. Even if you went to every matinee, there was that much theater going on. But by the 20th century, all of that disappeared. But there is now a resurgence. And because of that resurgence, that was one of the inspirations for me to write this book, to show you what it was like when Brooklyn was a cultural mecca 100 or more years ago.
Well, here's the deal. You have been an academic. So you are used to writing research papers and articles in journals and things like that. So researching the Brooklyn book, was it hard or easy to, were there other books written about Brooklyn theater before?
It's the only book ever written on the history, other than a few shorter surveys that were done in the 1880s, which of course was incomplete. But those are good sources because there were people who were living at the time that I was doing the research for. But the basic source is newspapers. So when I was originally doing this research, I started the research back in 1966 or 67. Yes, because it was being done for my doctoral thesis. And they allowed you to read the actual newspapers. So you had they would bring out these huge volumes for a particular year, the Brooklyn Eagle, the Brooklyn Daily Citizen, the Brooklyn Daily Times, and you would have these huge pages that you have to turn. And as you did, the flaky paper would fall apart in your hands. Now, all of that stuff has been digitized.
Sure.
So in redoing that material, that the study that I had done with the raw flesh of those old newspapers, I was able to now go online and actually see all of these newspapers, all of them copied onto digital format, but themselves, sometimes because of the original that they were being copied from, you could see half the pages missing because it had disintegrated. So sometimes you're missing, and you still have to search, which is not the easiest thing, on your computer, page by page, and do searches for theater reviews, whatever. But there is an enormous amount of material that's still available on these digitized platforms that allows you to. So I was able to refresh everything and from what I had written in 1967, 68.
I did not realize that was the whole So I guess dovetails with a speech that you once gave. I assume it's about your life, but you titled the speech "From Gefilte Fish to Sushi." Is that so?
Right, that's correct.
Memoir of your
Well, that
life?
was my life, growing up as a Jewish kid in East New York, in East Flatbush, and suddenly finding myself immersed in Japanese culture and making that part of my career. So I thought that was
It's a
you
great
know,
guy. But let me ask you, I've got to, because you brought it up. I did not, but you brought it up. What was so awful about your mother?
well, she was. I don't want to discuss that, but we'll
Sure.
skip that. Yeah,
Yes. All right.
we'll skip it. She was just, a little overbearing. So,
Well,
I regret those
Jewish mother,
feelings now.
hello. Yeah. Well,
I regret those feelings now because time heals all wounds. But when I was 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, a lot of tension in the house. So that's it.
and but you had a decent relationship with your papa.
A little better.
Oh, all right. Well, so now you have a family. I assume you
Yeah.
have a wife. How long have you been married?
62 years.
Oh, Mazel McGlick. Is your wife in as amazing shape as you are?
She's
Lullaby.
pretty good. She's pretty good. Everybody's got their aches and pains. Uh, we've all got our little dings, but fender benders and so forth. But I have a 60-year-old daughter, and I have a 56-year-old son, and I have a granddaughter who's 33 and expecting her second. So I have one great grandchild and another one on the way. And yeah, in
Are
that
any?
regard,
Did you
thank
discourage?
goodness.
Did you encourage or discourage any of them from going into the arts?
No, that was up to them. I never made an issue of that. My son is an artist. He's a illustrator and comic books and so forth. And so um, he's into that. And my daughter was a public school teacher.
I mean, Mazel. I mean,
Yeah.
or my condolences. Pick one.
And then my granddaughter is a public school teacher. Another one is a mental health therapist. So everybody's okay.
So let me ask you, well, let me remind people that we've been talking to Samuel L. Leiter, Leiter. He has a blog which you can find by going. Now you got to Google something. So
Theater's lighter side.
who's Leiter side?
Theater's.
Digger's Lighter side. I still think Samuel or SL Lighter.blogspot.com is
Yeah,
actually
that'll get you there.
but okay, but yeah, and you can read him also on theaterlife.com and theaterpizzazz.com and get his book. It's called Brooklyn Takes the Stage. Hold it up for us there. Brooklyn Takes the Stage by you. 20th, 19th century theater in the city of, I assume that says Brooklyn there, by you from it's McFarland and Company Books, available wherever books are sold. Is there a digital? Can people also get it on Kindle or those kinds of
I
things?
don't know if it's out on Kindle yet. I can't say. I haven't followed that, so they didn't tell me. I guess eventually it will be.
But well, it just came out. When did it come out? It's very
It
new.
came out in January, beginning of January. Yeah.
Mazel. So this is exciting, and it's been wonderful to have you on the program. Let me ask you though. This is a question that we're coming. Two different questions that are coming from my mind, but one of the themes of this program has been artificial intelligence. Artificial
Artificial
intelligence?
intelligence. Yeah.
Do you think that within 5-10 years, AI will be able to write a great play?
No,
Why?
no. I mean, they'll probably be able to write plays, Writing a great play, I doubt it. It's hard enough for the greatest geniuses of playwriting. Even, I mean, how many great plays did Tennessee Williams write or Arthur Miller? Even Shakespeare wrote a lot of
Well, do you think
clunkers.
AI could write a better bad play than a bad Tennessee Williams play?
Maybe. I mean, I can't put it past AI, but it's possible. Nobody, I can't predict, but I doubt that anybody will write a great play. And very few great plays are ever written to begin with. And so I don't think that AI, they'll probably be able to write a passable play. I wouldn't be surprised given the way it's moving.
Now, and last question for you. Since you've been going to the theater, you've been now still going to the theater post pandemic. Everybody's theater forever is the invalid. Broadway is the fabulous invalid. It's always dying. It's always a problem. Nobody's coming to the theater. Nobody can afford it. Is that what you're seeing, or are you more optimistic?
No, no, I think that's happening even increasingly. So as you see, especially in the post-pandemic years, the lack of support that the theater has been receiving, the fact that so many major nonprofits are cutting back to such a degree, there's no programming going on for some extended period of time. The Mark Taper Theater in California, Lincoln Center in New York, they're all cutting back. The Public Theater had to cut, I think, 20% of its staff.
Well, Oscar Eustace is still making $1 million, but yeah, they're caught, no, which is fine. But the question is, it cyclical though? Will we look back in 5 to 10 years and go, oh,
I
they're back at
don't
boom, people are
think,
going back to the shows?
I don't think so because this doesn't seem to be the theater isn't doing enough to bring in the people that it needs to on in an affordable way. So you if you had theater that was available, the kind of theater that's available, but more accessible to a larger number of people, I think it might be different. But it's such an expensive procedure, especially with the unions and all of that. Everybody's got to make a living. You have to accept that, but it's a kind of vicious cycle. And the theater is going to struggle for a while, and Broadway will only become more commercialized than it is. With, as you see, one more, uh, what do you call it, a jukebox musical after the other. I mean, what is a Broadway season now except a musical series, a series of shows that are based upon the music of some already established person, where they try to tie it together in some creative, original way or biographical way. But it's basically one after the other of that. And
Yeah, if we didn't have the institutional theaters, I wonder how many plays we'd have. If we didn't have the big,
yeah, if you didn't have the nonprofits, if you didn't have the second stage, you didn't have Roundabout, you
yeah,
didn't have the public, if you didn't, what would you have? Uh, it's um, it's all about making that buck because it costs so much money. I
but who
remember
are
when
these
it was the
people who make enough money that $250 a piece for an orchestra seat to see Bette Midler or to see Hugh Jackman or to see whatever? And apparently there's people who make such money that they can do this a few times a year. All right, so it's $700 to see Hamilton, but it's Hamilton. It's like, who are these people and what jobs do they have and how do I get in their wills? I do not, tell me this, because even you understood. You had, I assume, a fan, but you were in academia for all these years. You put aside a little nest egg. You were.
I mean, I stopped going to the theater for a while, as I mentioned, start going less and less. That was 20 years ago, 12, 15 years ago. I was going increasingly less. I can't understand. I know friends. In doing this and going to the theater all the time, I meet people all the time who are always there. They're not critics. They're theater goers. There are some people who see everything. Whether they are independently wealthy, I don't know. I don't ask them about, but I see them at the theater. I become friends with them. I talk to them. They read my reviews because when we get up a conversation, they say, "You're a critic, okay? What's your site?" And I put them on my mailing list. Or they see it on Facebook. But the when I go to the theater, uh, as an ordinary guy living on a pension, uh, and I sit in the theater seats that I get, fortunately, as a critic. and they put me in these seats in row G or row F at a Broadway show, sometimes before it's open, sometimes after. And I sit there with my daughter or whoever I've taken to the theater and say, can you believe what people around us are paying for these seats? I always make a point of going to the box office to see what the price is. I'm sitting in $300 seats and sometimes more. Oh, so it's a privilege that I take very seriously and really, really respect. But I can't understand. I look around me. Who are these people, and how do they have the money in such numbers? Apparently, maybe the economy is not as bad as people claim it is, but it's certainly bringing, at least for those high ticket items, those really desirable shows, or when there's a lot of buzz about them, bringing people in to see them. At the same time, I've noticed increasingly as I go to the theater, lots more empty seats than there used to be. Even early in a show's run, it's rare you see every seat taken. And unless there's such an enormous amount of buzz about it, it's I I wonder how they possibly can be doing it. And yet you have shows like The Lion King, which are doing better now than they did 30 years ago.
Well, because 30 years ago, Lion King tickets were $40. Now you sell one ticket to the Lion King and it's $260. So
Yeah,
they
so
don't have to sell 7 tickets. They just
I
sell
can't
one.
solve it. It's not an area I'm an expert at, but I just as on a personal basis can't understand how the theater can continue to sustain itself at such levels.
I don't know. I will say the rare times I go to the theater now, I feel so privileged to be there and to steal the money from the donations to the synagogue so that I can pay it at the box office. When I eat an orange at intermission, I no longer spit the pits onto the stage because I feel cowed. I feel like I'm in a higher place because there's so much money
Right.
now. Back in the day, I didn't care. Back in the peanuts, just threw them all over. I once hit Henry Fonda in the eye. He was not happy. But it happens. It happens. Anyway, we have had a marvelous time talking with Samuel Shmuel. Shmuel, what was the middle? Labe? Shmuel
Roulette.
Labe Leiter. Go to his blog, which is Theater's Lighter Side. If you Google that, go.
And read my book,
Of course, Brooklyn
Brooklyn Takes the Stage.
Takes the Stage, which you can get where books are sold, and read his reviews. Go to the blog, and also you can read the reviews at Theater
And
Lighter.
if they're not sold wherever you think books are sold, ask them why not.
That's right. Well, you can if you're at the drama desk or the drama bookshop in New York, they'll have
I
it.
have no idea if they even have it on in stock.
Well, you can pass by it on 44th Street. Check. They
I
will
haven't.
carry that.
Yes.
In fact, this is what you should do. They will. I will bet you will do this. You talk to the people there. They'll do a signing thing and a reading thing, and you can
Yeah.
and then get someone from Brooklyn to talk.
I've tried that with a couple of other bookstores. Nobody seems interested. What can I tell you?
How about a bookstore in Brooklyn?
There's a great bookstore in Brooklyn. I think it's called the Greenleaf on Fulton Street, a couple of blocks away from. I went in there. They said, "Here's an email. Write to these people." They did. That's all they said. I said, "I'm looking at all the books on Brooklyn on the shelf, and where is this book? The first book ever to tell the history of the theater in Brooklyn that took place right here where this bookstore is located on theaters all over the place." Here's an email. Call the manager. Write to the manager. So I write to the manager. What result did I get? Garnished. So this is life.
It's life in theater in 2024. But we
I
have
write to the Brooklyn. I write to the Brooklyn magazine, Brooklyn Magazine, which is a famous, like New York magazine, but for Brooklyn. I write to the Brooklyn Eagle. Wouldn't you be interested in covering this? Garnished.
really.
Nothing. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I am sorry. Obviously, I'm very.
It's just the world we live in. What can I tell you?
Hey, you got to promote it on this show, which is
I did.
Then
And your thousands and thousands of listeners are rushing out to the book
millions,
right now.
millions, goddamn it, in my head, but millions of listeners
Right.
watching right now, and they're not even watching; they're listening because they're listeners. No, millions of people viewing this podcast are going to buy your book, and
Yes, it's got fun. It's got sex, it's got money, it's got
Wait,
art. It's
I was going to let you go, but where the hell's the sex? Talk to me about the sex. What sex? Tell me about the sex.
you have to read the book.
God damn it. All right, fair enough, I will. And so will you, everybody. It's called Brooklyn Takes the Stage by Samuel L. Leiter. Shmuel, it has been such a joy. I wish you more Are you working on, you can't say what it is, I'm sure, but are you working on another book?
Thank you, Rabbi. I appreciate it.
Oh, are you working on another book? Can you, or?
But possibly. I want to see how this one goes. But I just finished another book a year two that won an award. If anybody's interested in Japanese theater, this came out a year ago. It's called Meiji Kabuki.
Meiji Kabuki, Japanese
theater through foreign eyes.
That's a beautiful cover. Is it by you? Meiji Kabuki.
Meiji Kabuki. That's where I leave you. It won a big award last year. So here we are.
I hope you win many more awards. Write more articles, more reviews. Samuel Leiter.
Gefilte fish to sushi.
Gefilte fish to sushi. And shalom to you. Thank you.
Shalom. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Samuel Leiter, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, what a joy, what a delight, and such a smart man. And so vibrant and so vital about theater, about Brooklyn, about Japanese theater, about... I got the word right. I was looking up. I couldn't remember the word kabuki. So I put in what I thought was bukkake. Very different. not what I was expecting. I was like, that's a really bad way of doing theatrical makeup. But what can you do? Anywho. My name is Rabbi Sol Solomon. You can find out more about me and my show that I did, Shalom Dammit, an evening with me, by going to my website, shalomdammit.com. This is also where you can read my, not theater reviews, but my rabbinical reflections. This is, Comments. Oh, there's comments. How about So, all right, we have comments here on Facebook. I don't know when they came. I don't know what the timestamp was on it. How about the bangers? Somebody just gave me a thumbs up. Thank you. We love Samuel L. Leiter, says Mark. Well, we do too. He's great, isn't he? So, and we love you too, Mark, for saying such a nice thing. Saying thank you for the thumbs up, whoever gave us a thumb. No hearts. What, nobody can give me hearts? It's got to just be a thumb? Somebody give me a heart, goddammit. Anywho, I'm Rabbi Sol. We're going to bring Dave back to continue the Dave's Gone By Facebookio Podcastio Programmio of the stream on this Shabbos morning. It is March 2nd, 2024. You guys, are you? Oh, thank you, whoever gave me a heart. Now I have a heart on. Ladies and gentlemen, more of Dave's Gone By with Dave after this musical interlude. Oh, and smiley faces too. This is lovely. Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. It is almost 5 minutes after 11 o'clock in the a.m. I'm Dave. I realized I shouldn't have packed that up because Rabbi Sol will be back with us because he's got a story time to do in a little while. So we're gonna switch things around because we still have our Greeley Times to do. We got a lot to do on this episode, and Dave's Big Dictionary is coming, as well as our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. Just reminding you that I'm Dave Lefkowitz. That's my darling and adorable wife, Joyce. And we're here doing the 933rd episode of the show.
Yes, he's getting a lot of love. People love him.
He was really good. I mean, yeah. The man, did you see him? Were you watching?
I could not.
He's 83 years old.
So, that's not old, David.
No, have you seen the president lately? I mean, it's like both my grandparents were long dead. My male grandparents were long dead before 83. So. In fact, my dad. Oh no, he was older. He passed a little later than that. He was born in 37. So he died.
You can't do
so
math.
I can't do any math at all.
Go get AI. Ask
Yeah.
AI. Ask AI how old the person is.
I'm just saying the guy looks in his late 40s, early 50s.
Maybe he's
Seriously.
like, the Dorian Gray. Maybe go in his basement and see.
He's
Ask him if he has a basement in his apartment house or in his house.
There's a Japanese painting
Look
there
and
where the
see,
leaves
like,
are falling.
Maybe he has some kind of painting that we don't know.
But anywho, we do have a lot to do still on this episode of the show. So let's get to something that we love doing, because Joyce and I lived in Colorado for a bunch of years, where the newspaper is the Greeley Tribune, which is a real newspaper, but they have a fun column in there every week called Cop Log, and it has to do with real actual phone calls that came into the Greeley Weld County Police Department.
Made up.
They can't. This is from unless the police blotter dispatcher is making up stuff. This is all legit.
They're pulled directly.
Yeah, no, they can't. What they do is, of course, they have to strip all the identifiers when they put stuff in the paper. So we get the
You've
event.
been living with me too long.
What?
You've been living with me too long.
Well,
You start saying take off.
FERPA rules. So what is the police equivalent of FERPA? FERPA simplex 2?
I think it's PERPA.
FERPA. Yeah. For police is something rules. And what is FERPA? What the acronym stand
Federal
for?
Education, something.
Something. Yeah.
It's like HIPAA.
HIPAA. Oh, well, I fractured my hip last weekend, and now I'm on. No, I didn't. I don't know where I'm going with that. But anyway, we have what we call it used to be called Greeley Crimes and Old Times, because there was another column in the paper about things that happened 100 years ago.
It was a fun one. It was very fun.
But that's unfortunately gone. The guy who put that together
it was
passed.
like if the steam train's coming to town on Friday and the movie theater's going to show Gone with the Wind.
And there's hobos outside the thing, and they're causing.
hated the hobos.
Oh, they hated the hobos, and there were chickens running around. It was pretty wonderful.
Chickens and hobos. It was very complex, yeah.
But that column's gone. Cop Log continues, as does Greeley Times.
March 2nd.
Today's March 2nd, yes.
Is that what you wanted?
No, I was
So
trying
what's
to.
today? And
I'm trying to think of what the outro music was. I was talking to
I
myself.
thought you wanted me to tell you what the date
No,
was.
but it is March 2nd, 2024, in the Daverhood. So these are things that were in the paper based on calls that come into the police department in the past, month. So there's a little lag time, a little delay. But we have a phone call. Hello. Yeah, hello. Hello, I got Pooey acting as my telephone. Hey, Pooey.
Here's the phone here.
Oh, here's an actual. Here's my ear trumpet. There you go. Well, a caller on 13th Street
Getting there even 8th.
said that she got home.
Yeah.
And what do you think she found upside down in her doorway?
A chipmunk.
No. Great.
A raccoon?
No, this is left
a bat,
by
a bat.
No, not an animal. Not an animal thing.
Someone's necktie?
No, but great guess. I mean, your guess is okay.
Maybe a shoe?
No, they found a tarot card and an ace of clubs upside down.
They better run. They did somebody wrong.
I mean, is that bad juju? Is tarot not a good,
If they feel that it's something bad, they probably did something bad to somebody and have some issues to address.
Yeah, but those are deep-rooted issues. What, you've never heard of taro root?
Oh, I love taro root. When I could eat bad food, I mean, I still eat
Wait,
bad food.
taro cannot be bad.
No, but they had those fried, it was like a potato chip replacement, but they were all vegetables. The taro root was delicious.
So have it. Why can't you have it now?
Because it's like deep fried.
Oh, well, yeah. But you can probably air fry. You can probably cut up a taro root and air fry.
Yeah, all my air fryers are taken over by somebody in this house.
Well, what? You can use an air fryer, clean it out. You can cook anything in it. What? Anywho. Well, anyway, this woman who found the tarot card and the ace of clubs, she asked police if they could.
She found the Swedish band Ace of Base. Oh, and she was. They're like, we do birthday parties for cheap now. I found the Ace of Base on my door.
No, they found an actual card, a tarot card. So she asked police if they could find the perpetrator, and they said, nah, it's not in the cards.
Oh.
I made that part up. I totally made that part up. Yeah.
How can they? I mean, but would they review that as like some kind of, you know?
Well, I don't know. She probably, I don't. Maybe she's figuring some person is trying to give her a warning.
Put a spell or something behind it.
I put a spell on you.
No, but I wonder, like, is that like I don't know. I don't understand things.
No, like anybody can understand why someone would leave cards on
Yeah, she probably made somebody mad, like, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
Or maybe that too really stupid salesperson, and the guy's like, okay, well, they're at home. Why don't we just leave a card?
Leave a card.
Yeah.
But here, yeah. What do you have in your pocket? I've got this card. I've got this one. Good. She'll know what it means.
Now here's a thing. Oh, there's a caller. Caller. I'll talk to Potato. Caller. Yes, Potato caller. A caller who refused to give an address.
Uh-oh. That's never good.
But they just had questions regarding the legalization of mushrooms and having them around children.
Whoa.
So I think we know why they
it's
didn't
not
want the
good.
address.
It's not good to have that.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, don't people know, like, they're probably scanned on the call, where they're calling from is scanned in the police system.
And the police, yeah. But
one time I made a mistake. I was so embarrassed on my school phone.
Oh.
Because you had to dial 9 to get out, and I guess I dialed 9 twice because I was tired. No, I dialed 9, and I dialed 1 to get like a foreign exchange, and I dialed 911, and do you know they called me back?
Oh.
And they said, we see you've dialed 911. I said, I'm trying to get out of the system to dial outside. But they called me to make sure it wasn't a dropped.
Yeah.
I was in an Uber too long, and Uber called me and said, your car's been still. We were just talking and, exchanging stuff, getting out of the car. But I had a lot of things in the car, so it took me time, and then I dropped something, and I cleaned it, And so then the driver and I both get the same call at the same time. It's like, this is Uber. If this is 911, say whatever, or if you're just steady in the car. It's a good safety feature.
I guess, yeah.
Because what happens if the car's not moving and they don't think the trip ended? Because they end a trip.
Yeah, they're wondering why you're stuck there standing there. Because Uber is like, hey, you're out, take your stuff and go. Yeah. I did not know they did that.
And I was like, oh, God. Sometimes I have so much stuff. You drop stuff. I'm like, where's my phone? I'm like digging for whatever, trying to find all my crap. And
I mean, it's a pain in the ass for the driver, but it's better than, shit, he drove off with my phone.
But it was,
and then that becomes a thing.
They were fine. They're like, it's a slow time. Find find the stuff you need.
Yeah.
But I never had that before. And we both got the call at the same time. I was like, uh-oh. It was a good feature.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the what I don't understand about this particular piece is the caller who refused to give an address was asking about the legalization of mushrooms. I've always been under the impression mushrooms have always been legal. You just want to watch out for the ones in dented cans. So
yes, not that kind, honey. They're talking about psychosil. Remember the thing we watched for 75 hours, that film about mushrooms?
Yes.
That's
the great mushroom documentary.
The ayahuasca. That's what they're looking for.
Oh, it makes more sense now. Okay. Yeah, because I didn't understand you put mushrooms in your salad all the time. I'm like,
I love them.
There's nothing illegal about them.
I love them, and they're very good. Like nutritionist told me that if you can get homegrown mushrooms, they're a good source of. I can't remember the vitamin. She said they're really good. Like, she couldn't find farm-grown mushrooms, and she was a nutritionist. So, but I think these are the closest. I'm going to say.
Yeah, what vitamin does a mushroom have?
Okay. What vitamins are the best in mushrooms?
According to Healthline, mushrooms are rich in the B vitamins.
Oh, B vitamins. That's why. B vitamins are B vitamins. Yeah. That's good.
I know. Someone who eats grows regular mushrooms, eats mushrooms, basically lives, breathes, and sleeps in mushroom. He's a fun guy. We do comedy here on Dave Scott and I. Oh yes, we do. Let's see. Here's another Greeley Time. A caller on 5th Street. Oh, this is call from 5th Street, all the way downtown. They reported a male and a female possibly engaged in, quotes, extracurricular activities. If what I'm thinking of is what they're engaged, I would have done so much more extracurricular activities in high school. I would have volunteered.
But I don't know what was the problem. They called because were they in their home?
It doesn't say where they were, Outside, inside, by a window, in a car.
Probably the library.
Oh, there wasn't a library on Fifth Street, as far as I know.
Hogwarts.
Well, she had open stacks, I'll tell you.
Hey.
Anywho, a caller on 29th Street said that a woman was in, and I cannot believe this, plaid pajama pants.
Stop.
Yeah, right.
Hold the
Joyce has
presses.
a picture. Yeah.
Hold the
This
presses.
is true.
I can't even. I was just writing a budget and I can't focus on.
Joyce has complained to me numerous times of my sleepwear.
You have every pattern, stripes. You have plaid, stripes, and argyle. You just need polka dots and you'd be complete.
I think that's a really good picture of me. But the thing is, it's hard to it's kind of hard to see
You can blow up
shirt.
The
The shirt is hard. Oh, there you go. The shirt does have sort of the Auschwitz stripy pattern there, and then I was wearing my.
Show the shorts and the
It's
socks.
gotten
the
warmer.
Argyle, yeah.
And then, the argyle were the socks I wore to work that day. So the argyle
But you
actually
are wearing
worked.
your new shoes, which also have a pattern.
But the thing is, if you're going to make fun of plaid pajamas and things, understand that, for whatever reason, 70% of the pajamas are stripes and plaid.
I'm going to ask it that question too.
Yeah,
I don't
please.
have my AI yet on my phone. Why are most pajamas made in plaid? It says, this is Reddit. It says, textile manufacturer copied the Woolrich Company's buffalo plaid design. So it was a successful UK design, and then every company copied it.
Because I wonder about that. It's I thought maybe it's so that people don't get confused.
What is the buffalo plaid design from Woolrich?
Yeah. Oh, there it is.
So they're all copying
that.
Yeah, they're all copying that.
And versions of it and working on it. But yeah,
It says the birth of an icon.
I can only imagine that is sort of when you're tired in the morning and you're reaching for a shirt, they want to make sure that you don't reach for, a pajama shirt accidentally. So they make the buttons huge, and then they put plaid on it you wouldn't wear. There it is.
1800s,
Yeah.
I think in the 1800s they started that, and then it probably became synonymous. They have beautiful plaid shirts.
See, those are nice.
That's UK based, yeah. That's Rebel design. They're gorgeous, but
yeah. No, I happen to like plaid, but thing is, a lot of times I won't wear a whole pajama set because I don't even make pajama sets anymore half the time, and it'll be one plaid, and Joyce said, why must you wear two completely contrasting stripes and plaids? I'm like, this is the pajamas. I would wear a solid pajama bottom. I just don't have one. But anyway, this was a woman on 29th Street who was, the caller was on 29th Street who said, what?
In her PJs.
No, she said a woman was in plaid pajama pants, smoking weed outside, and quote unquote acting crazy.
It's probably the pajama pants.
That'll do it. Yeah, not the weed, but definitely the PJ pant. That would drive anyone crazy. Wait, I don't know, but I sense another phone call coming. I knew it. There it is. A caller at an apartment complex on 11th Street said that a man in a long trench coat and a black hat was dancing in front of the caller's doorbell camera.
Ooh. I think that's probably like a Valentine's Day. Somebody sent them
oh, clever.
A special friend, yeah.
Yeah, either that or, I always wondered what happened to that guy in the Blondie Rapture video. I think we know now. He just goes from doorstep to doorstep doing his little dance in a plaid, no, not plaid, in a black hat and that long trench coat. It got really quiet. When it gets really quiet like this.
Yeah. I was looking to see if they posted my thing, but I don't know if they did. What do you want to do?
No. When it's quiet like this, invariably the spell is broken by another phone. I knew it! Another phone call. I knew it. Here we are. A caller at an apartment complex on 9th Street.
Your guest just joined to watch.
Really? Oh, that's very nice. Hey, Samuel. A caller at an apartment complex on 9th Street reported a truck alarm going. You ever think of a truck alarm? Where is it? Where? Hey, how are you doing? That's cool. What about it? Okay.
What about this, David? That's low budget.
Wait, I lost it. I can't. Oh, here we go. A call an apartment complex on 9th Street. Truck alarm going off. The caller then said he was entitled to shoot someone
Oh, good.
for flashing a light into his home,
What?
and then he became upset with police for not doing anything. So first the alarm is going off, and then I guess maybe the truck
Somebody
headlights.
was shining a light in his. That's like the setup for all the stories we watch with like William Shatner and the alien abduction.
Right.
There's like a noise, people go deaf, then they get the bright light. Maybe he was.
Well, if an alien came around and tried to put an anal probe in me, I would shoot
But
first.
he didn't say they were doing anything, right?
Well, they were shining a light in
Oh,
him,
no.
which is annoying.
That was just problem.
That is a reason to reach for my gun.
Well, that state was a concealed carry state, so
It could be.
yeah, you gotta be careful.
And speaking of terrible things to do and crimes and things,
Yeah.
a caller on 21st Avenue
wait,
said,
hold on.
go.
I was trying to.
Oh, sure,
I
sure.
dropped my eye.
This caller on 21st Avenue said someone stole her passenger side mirror cover.
What is this world coming to? What is this world coming to?
I mean, I would be annoyed, but passengers, not the mirror, they break the mirror off.
David, that's when you're really fancy. It's like you don't only cover the windshield, you cover your.
Well, actually, we were looking into getting those before the snow falls.
They're like mittens for your mirrors.
Yeah, they keep them, if the snow happens, you just pull it right off.
Maybe it's good we didn't get it. Maybe they're very
They would've been
similar to
stolen.
people in hot commodity, yeah.
It's like people, forget jewelry.
We don't want your stereo. We want your mitten. For
Forget
your
the
mirror.
gold coin collection from the Franklin Mint.
Mhm.
We want your mirror covers. That happens. All right, let's go elsewhere, because on Greeley Times we not only take things that happen in Greeley from the cop log, but we do one or two other stories from elsewhere in the universe. And so here's one that it's a Reuters story that comes all the way from, I cannot pronounce this, Wahagnies,
Yeah.
France.
Oh wow.
Wahagnies. It sounds Dutch, right? Wahagnies,
Yeah.
Wahagnies, France.
Yeah.
A story written by Arde Napolitano for Reuters. Wahagnies?
No,
Yeah.
I can't spell it.
This is a story about 28-year-old Damien Desrochers, a French artisan. He washes his hands
Yes.
in a very special way. In his bag, you've eaten breakfast, huh? You're not in lunch mode yet, right? Because I don't want to spoil this. Damien Desrochers.
Let's take that offline. Let's take that offline. Let's take that offline. Let's take that offline.
Damien Desrochers.
We're gaining traction. Let's really drill down on this. We have to be disruptive. Let's circle back to that. We're gaining traction. I feel like there's a disconnect.
Well, let's see how you feel about this fellow. This French artisan who washes his hands in a very special way.
No.
In his backyard, he keeps an enclosure with, what do you think, dear?
I don't want to. I can't.
No, it's not, probably not as bad as what you're thinking right now.
Let's
knowing
just,
me.
Mud.
No, no, not mud.
Truffles. Pigs.
You kind of think
Sheep. Llamas. Cows. Goats.
think smaller, much
Guinea pigs.
smaller.
Mice.
Smaller.
Hamsters.
Smaller.
Tiny mice. Baby mice.
Smaller than baby mice. Almost.
Uh,
Maybe not necessarily smaller.
Miniature mice. Oh, fairies. Gnomes.
No.
What?
He keeps an enclosure with thousands of snails in it. Oh.
Samba snail.
He then uses the snail slime to make soap.
Is that possible?
Well, apparently
Well,
it's
that's
very
recycling. We use honey from bees to sweeten things, so.
but snail cum.
No, it's slime means like from their little feet, like if they had feet.
Well, yeah, the stuff that they leave on the sidewalk. Apparently,
What's snail slime?
snail slime. It's
It's not toxic?
why would it be toxic? You eat snails. You
I
don't
don't
eat
eat
snails.
snails.
I've eaten snails.
What is snail slime? What is snail slime? Is it, what is the slime that comes from a snail when they walk around?
According to the conversation, snails produce a lot of slime, and it is incredibly useful to them. Snail slime is made of a mixture of substances. It is mostly water mixed with proteins and some carbohydrates and minerals, formed into a sort of jelly. This jelly is called mucus.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Notice when you cook snails, you're eating their dried mucus. Just thought I'd throw that out there. But here's a man who's found another use for the slime that comes out of snails. They're snot. They're poo poo. Well, not the poo. They're poo poo for the nose kind of poo poo. This man sells this in local markets. He makes soap out of snail slime. He says, "quote, how does he get the slime out of them?
I don't want to. He scares
Quote,
them. He
quote.
scares them probably.
No. It's all in the dexterity of how you tickle," Desrochers said as he extracted the slime.
I'm sorry. No.
He said, no, he says the process does not hurt or it does not kill
that's
or even
good,
hurt the
that's
snail at
good.
all. No.
Dude, but we don't know if they like it. So you don't like being tickled. Maybe
Oh,
they
I
don't-
hate being
So
tickled.
maybe they don't like it.
Yeah, it's like,
How does he know?
it comes out of them, yeah.
How does he know?
Well, he says once you see how snails behave, they're actually very endearing.
Oh, they're cute. Well, we like the snail on SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yeah, Gary.
Yeah,
we love
like
Gary. Yeah.
Gary's a good snail.
Desrochers has raised a total
I'm gonna post a snail in your thing.
of 60,000 snails. As they enter their reproductive season,
How many?
60,000. 60,000. As they enter their reproductive season, most get transferred to a larger site, while 4,000 are kept in an enclosure at his home to harvest the slime.
Does he sell it? He must sell it.
I would love that he finds maybe like illegal migrant workers who are in town. They don't know what to. It's like, we need slime harvesters. Please come to this address. And they get there real early in the morning, dodging the cops. Not giving their legal IDs. And it's like, here, you've got 11 hours
Look at that.
for tickling snails. Oh, I love snails. Guess what? A single snail.
Oh, I think this is somebody tickling a snail. I'm gonna post it.
Oh,
Should I
you
post it?
got to post it. Yes, please.
Oh, I can't do it. Hold on.
Oh, don't post it. Just send it to and share it. A single snail will yield about 2 grams of slime. 40 snails makes 80 grams, enough to manufacture 15 bars of soap.
Do people buy it, or he's just using it for his personal?
Guess what? Although uncommon in Western cosmetics,
Yeah.
snail mucus has become popular elsewhere,
Where?
including anti-aging products in Korea. Kind of an Asian theme on the show, yeah.
Snails. Well, maybe.
Well, look, like Japanese, Korean, Asian women, like they seem to have no wrinkles until they're like 70.
But I don't think it's from the snail stuff. You think?
Maybe it is. Maybe it's the snail love juice that coats their faces in a snail cocky kind of a way and makes them look younger. I don't know. Laugh if you will. Slime has collagen and elastin.
Oh, yeah.
And snails even use their own slime to repair damaged cells. Their damaged shells.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Why
Desrochers.
don't we get snails as pets?
I would love to.
Can you have a snail as a pet? Like, is it legal?
I'm just going to stop you from having snails. But where do you get them? You put them in a fish tank.
Yeah, but I don't know what they eat.
Lettuce, don't they?
I don't know. Are they herbivore?
What did Gary? Well, Gary had a full
Yeah,
course
but
meal.
that's a cartoon.
That's it.
What does a snail eat?
According to mollusks, Carnegie Museum of Natural History, land snails and slugs may eat herbaceous plant leaves or stems, rotting herbaceous plants, leaves, wood, or bark, including the fungi that live within these.
So they eat salad. That's good.
But where do we get snails to keep? I would love if I have a fish tank of snails.
Where do you buy snails to keep as pets? This is PetSmart, Petco.
PetSmart has snails.
I don't think so.
I think they have them in tanks so that other animals can eat them.
It's telling you should turn a flower pot upside down. They cost like $10 plus shipping, but I don't know.
For how
to care
many?
for the spruce pets. I don't know. Does Petco sell snails? It says the two main freshwater invertebrates we have at Petco are shrimp and snails.
Whoa!
They sell snails, I guess.
Next time we go to Petco, we
They
can
live 2 or 3 years. That's pretty good.
yeah, and we'll hope they reproduce. That's what we want.
It says they may not like. Some like to be petted. Some don't.
I assume you pet their undersides, not the shells.
Snails recognize their owner. No.
Yeah, but it's a snail.
Oh look, it's mommy. I don't think it's snail.
It's a friggin' snail. No. But I would, because
They
you
show
don't know how
affection.
happy I would be when I would see a snail on the stoop or something, or on a wall when we're walking along, like we're
It
walking
says
down the street.
earthworms and snails also do get along as friends.
Who-
That's good. Earthworms.
Earthworms and stuff, that's great!
Yeah, good to know.
I would love a snail tank.
Yeah, we could do that someday.
Yes. Or we get a little
Terrarium.
dinghy or even a canoe, and we put a bunch of them in. We call it a snail boat. No, we can go to that place in Hunt Valley that's having a going out of business snail. Anywho, by the way, Desrochers aims to produce 3,000 snail slime soap bars in his first year.
But are people buying it?
Apparently,
Okay.
yeah, maybe selling it to. Look for the Damien Desrochers.
Snail soap. Yeah, there's a lot of it.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Dr. H and organic homemade snail soap. There's a lot of snail soap. Is this Chateau de Souvent?
Right.
Chateau du Souvent?
Du Savon, yeah.
Yeah, is that it?
I don't know. No, his. Oh,
Yeah,
is it
that-
Desrochers? I don't know if his is
There's-
particularly.
Oh, there's a snail soap dispenser. There's a
There's a
lot
snail
of snail
soap,
soap. It's not uncommon.
It's not. It's a thing.
This one is a Bigelow sells it for $8.50 a bar.
A
And
bar.
it's a I want. Is this him? He's tickling a snail. Must
Oh,
be-
we have to see. We have to show this.
Yes, here.
Is this Damien Desrochers tickling a snail to get this? Oh, he's not using his finger. He was using a thing.
You
Hold
can
on.
go back. Want me to get it back?
Wait. Yeah. No. Hold on. Oh, where's the thing on this that makes it start and start? Yeah.
What do you tell me?
Start from the beginning, because this is too good. This is too freaking good.
I don't know what. Well, I gotta stop it. There.
So here's a man,
You want the music on or no?
and not the first. Don't no
Just
music.
hit
No music.
play.
Wait,
Okay, hit
quickly
play.
do the handoff so everybody can. Oh, here we go.
Sorry.
Here we go. Here is the Frenchman Damien Desrochers doing snail soap.
Wow. That's a lot of snails.
Oh, look how cute!
These are a toothbrush.
Oh, there he goes. Oh. I think he's trying to find the clip. Ugh! Ew.
Whoa.
Hmm.
Look at that mustache.
Oh, they're so cute!
They're adorable.
Oh, I want snails now.
But look how pretty they are
Wait,
with all
okay,
the
stop.
greenery too. I'll take it.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Is that the man you were speaking
And
of?
all we have to do is the lettuce that you won't eat when it starts going, we just feed it to the snails.
I don't know how this came up in my feed now, David.
Well, now thanks to
And
AI.
someone just asked me, have you had an experience with hospital delirium that does not resolve? No.
No.
My delirium does resolve post-hospital.
But go figure, this guy didn't invent this. That making soap out of snail slime is like a common thing. And meanwhile, I admit,
Just because you don't know about something doesn't mean it's not common. We didn't know, but there,
no, but this beats my idea of making cooking spray out of slug piss.
No, but people aren't eating it; they're using it on their body.
Yeah, well, yeah. All right. I mean, hell, I have eaten and delighted in pasta and squid ink. What do you think squid ink? It's black squid piss. and it's yummy. It's some liquid that comes out of an octopus. Oh, we have a call. All right, let's get back to Greeley Times. Here we go. One or two more. A caller at apartments on 11th Avenue. Well, they were concerned. They were concerned that a woman was prostituting in the parking lot. Haven't heard it used in that verb way. A woman was prostituting in the parking lot. He saw her having sex and doing drugs in a vehicle. Turned out to be his ex-girlfriend, and he was just trying to get her in trouble. Ow.
So this was just his girlfriend.
That's bearing false witness.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Is that fraud? It's slander.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's bad.
No, but also, like, if you can't use anybody that's not, like, that's a personal problem. You shouldn't have brought in other people to settle that. Like, if he has a problem with an ex-partner, you don't bring in, you know.
Or you don't try to get her arrested.
Oh, my God.
Or being a hooker.
How can you say that? What happens if she had kids or something? She can get in big trouble.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to say it turned out to be his ex-girlfriend, and that's kind of funny that she's doing this to piss him off. There's another, he's making all this shit up to get her in trouble.
I think that's the
not
intention.
good.
That's
Yeah.
what it seems like.
Speaking of a misunderstanding, a caller on 2nd Street reported several people in his one-bedroom apartment. It turned out to be just a misunderstanding. People in the apartment were there to clean. Yeah.
Come on.
I don't make these up.
Come on.
I know. Yeah.
If you see, like, a bunch of people with brushes or mops or brooms or, like, you know, cleaning your windows, like, what do you...
Yeah, it's not a meth lab.
It's not a flash mob. They're cleaning.
And finally, and don't you think it's not a moment too soon? Oh. Now you'd figure this is coming from 21st Avenue Court. So you figure it's going to be a high-level thing, right?
That's snazzy.
Well, a caller on 21st Avenue Court said that a neighbor was spraying something outside and making everybody sick. Let me tell you something. When I shart, get out of the way. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Greeley Times for this Saturday, March 2nd, 2024.
Mr. Horace Greeley was no fool. I'm sure that you'll agree with me that Greeley was no fool.
What he is getting at is that Mr. Greeley was no fool.
Yippee-yi!
Yippee-yi, 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 yi-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi.
Thank you, Groucho Marx. Thank you, all of you, for tuning in on this Saturday to watch Dave's Gone By with me, Dave Lefkowitz, and my wonderful wife, Joyce. Our 933rd episode that we've been calling the Leiter side in honor of our delightful guest, our delightful guest,
Yeah.
Samuel Leiter, and talk about his
What an
book about
interesting
Brooklyn.
interview.
Was he
Very
good?
interesting. Yeah, very. Getting a lot of love on the comments. A lot of love.
I know. Well, and also a lot of people who I know and who watch the show are theater critics and theater people, so they
yes.
know.
The creative people really
This
enjoyed
man.
the interview, yeah.
So anyway, we still have Dave's Big Dictionary to get through. We have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned, Friends of the Daverhood. But speaking of the interview with Samuel Leiter, let's bring Rabbi Sol Solomon back into the Daverhood because he's going to read a story. See,
I think he wants
there's
to dress in a children's outfit too. He's going to dress a little more lighthearted.
he could. How? I'm not sure how, but that'd
I'll
be
show
fun.
you.
So here's the deal. We have a segment we've been doing on the show for a long time now, on and off, called StoryTime. What's nice about it is neither I nor the rabbi have to do any work on it because we're reading something that somebody else wrote and then sharing it with you, sometimes mocking it, sometimes delighting in it. What was it? It was a cow for Hansel?
It was a cow. His goal was to work. Work is like in servitude, right? In indentured servantry in a farm, so that he could make enough money to buy the cow to bring it home to his parents. But he got a goat or something. He didn't have a lot of luck.
Yeah, this was a children's book.
Yeah.
It took about 14 weeks for us to finish, but we
was
read
like
it cover to cover.
Yeah.
Sort of an audio book. You can go back to our archives and hear A Cow for Hansel, which was a real book, and not an intentionally funny one, but just the whole cover and this guy in lederhosen like standing next to a cow was a very beautiful thing.
It might have been the garage owner's son's book from when he was young.
1940s or something.
Maybe the garage owner's book when he was young.
Probably. So we have Rabbi Sol here. Now we do a lot shorter books and a lot of children's books for obvious reasons. So Rabbi Sol Solomon is going to be joining us momentarily back in the Daverhood to read to you this book, We Worship Here, Jewish Synagogue. Is there a better time, really, than now, than for all of us to come together and realize, the good things about being Jewish? We're not what people are necessarily saying we are. And even if we are, well, fuck you. That's what we are. But the Jewish Synagogue, We Worship Here, with one, the only, the Jewish Rabbi Sol Solomon.
Tell me a story, tell me a story, tell me a story, remember what you said. You promised me, you said you would, you gotta give in so I'll be good. Tell me a story, then I'll go to bed.
In the New York groove. Oh, shalom, my friends. Yes, shalom. It is me. It is I, Rabbi Sol Solomon of Temple Sons of Bitches and Beautiful Great Neck. Now, wait, I gotta make this higher so you can see the chicken on my head. Which came first? I think the snail did. But here, oh no, I'm Sammy David. I'm Moshe Dayan now. I can't see out of the eye. Oh, that's better. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a delight for me to return to this program this morning to do even more. It was wonderful talking to Shmuel Leiter earlier, the theater guy, but now we get literary, my friends. Oh, no, wrong way with the table there. We get literary with this libro, this book, We Worship Here, Jewish Synagogue. A lovely piece by Angela Wood and Emma Trillhart. I think that's what it is. Emma Trillhart. Somehow, I don't know, unless she's a falasha. I'm not sure if he actually worships here. This isn't even a synagogue. What the hell? This is a mosque. There's no Jewish stars. There's no, what are they disguising a Jewish synagogue as a mosque? I don't know what the hell they're doing with this book. Maybe, and look, here they have, we worship Buddhist temple. If you see on the back cover, there's a whole series of these things. Christian church, Hindu what? Mandik? I don't know if a Hindu would worship like a mandik unless they're gay. Jewish synagogue, Muslim mosque. Why does the Muslim mosque and the Jewish synagogue look exactly the same? I do not understand this at all. But all right, let's do this book here. Look, here's bar mitzvah time. Oh boy, look at that. And hey, it's a modern cultural thing. It's got a Jewish rabbi, a female, because it's a Jewish rabbi. A female rabbi there helping this young man who you can tell right there that he will have Jewish male pattern baldness by the time he's 40, ladies and gentlemen. But here, let's talk about this book from Franklin Watts Books. First published in paperback in Great Britain in 2022 by the Watts Publishing Group. All rights are reserved, as well they should be. Excuse me. We'll skip the contents. Let's just get right to the good stuff. Inside a synagogue. Every synagogue has a large cupboard called an ark. Inside the ark are the Torah scrolls. Scrolls are books written on parchment and rolled up. What a fascinating story this is. The Torah might as well do bullet points in Wiki. The Torah is the special book for Jews. The Torah is the same as the first five books of the Bible. When people face the ark, they're usually facing in the direction of Jerusalem, even though in the back of their minds they really wish they were facing Mission Barbecue. But anyway, Jerusalem is an important city for the Jewish people. I wish the Arabs would understand that. There is also a platform called a bima. A bima, the person leading the worship, stands on the bima. And in most synagogues, men lead the worship, but in some, Women may also lead the prayers. Here's a teenage boy and girl. Oh, I'm sorry, this is not the rabbi. They're not that enlightened. This is a boy and a teenage girl. I don't know, why does she look 25? They are both at the bima together. How nice, how lovely. Let's talk about the ark. This is not to be confused with another Jewish thing, Noah's Ark, where they put all the animals on there 2 by 2, somehow magically figuring that they'd all be male and female and they'd all reproduce. Didn't take into account, sometimes they just don't get along, woman's on her period, somehow they managed. The ark is a special cupboard where the Torah scrolls are kept. Each scroll has the Torah written on it. Now, the Torah is a collection of Jewish laws, stories, and teachings about God. Very nice. Look, they have here a guy trying very specifically not to be stereotypical and racist in their depiction of Jews, so they get one who looks like Anderson Cooper. On Shabbat and other festivals, one or more of the Torah scrolls is taken out of the ark and read. The Torah is used to help guide Jewish people in their daily lives. Very nice. And then there is the eternal light, and I don't mean the pilot on my stove. Above the ark is the eternal light, or the Ner Tamid. It can be an oil lamp or an electric light, maybe a flashlight, somebody stands there clicking. It is kept alight at all times. It reminds Jews that the Torah is always there and that Hashem, God, lives forever. And by the way, look, the curtain on the ark are closed, and the Ner Tamid shines above the ark. There it is. Look at that. Isn't that nice? It looks like a beehive, but thank God it's not. And we thank God for a lot of things. A Torah scroll. We talked about the scroll before. A Torah scroll is written by hand. None of this 3D printing here. It is in Hebrew, the Jewish language that has been used since ancient times. Scrolls are attached to wooden rollers, and some are rolled up and then put inside a big cloth cover. You really want to protect this thing. They even have a silver breastplate called a hoshen over the cloth cover. So they make it look really nice, like a medieval knight covering these pages and papers. And the bells, they put bells on top of the scroll, and those are called rimonim. When the scroll is carried from the ark to the bima, the bells tinkle, and that is when Clarence gets his wings in heaven. So there's some beautiful Torah scrolls. Look at that. I mean, lovely. That one I may tongue later. Undressing a Torah scroll. There we go. A Torah scroll is undressed before it is read. First, the silver bells are taken off. Let me entertain you. Let me make you pray. Then the yad, see page 16. There's a yad, it's a hand, it's an arm, is removed. And the breastplate, and finally the cloth cover, until you have a naked and unashamed Torah parading around for you and showing you as little Torah scroll tops there. The binder is then untied. The scroll is unrolled a little bit and lifted high. The person holding it turns 4 ways so that everyone can see the Torah. Dance around, showing off. Oh yeah, open it up all the way and spit ping pong balls out of it while you're at it. Reading from the Torah. I'm sorry, I had a brain fart moment there. Before and after the Torah is read, one person sings a blessing to thank God for the Torah. The people in the synagogue join in for part of this blessing, and while the Torah is being read, everybody follows carefully to make sure the words are read exactly as they are written down. So the first really anal English teachers were all Jews. When people read from the scroll, they follow the words, and here's page 16, here's the yad. This is the thing, you take this, and no, it doesn't have batteries in it, and the rabbi's wife doesn't use it that way. You do it so that you're while you're reading, you take the yad and you're pointing to the words. You're pointing where the words are. Pointing. It's a nice thing in case you get confused. It is, I get whatever. And here's the little girl. She's getting ready for her bat mitzvah. Unless, why do all the women look 30 in this thing? I don't understand. Getting ready for prayer. For morning prayers, all men and older boys wear a shawl called a talit. In some synagogues, women and older girls wear one when they pray too. A talit usually has blue or black stripes and fringes on the edges. This isn't dog-eared. It's not that this was chewed and is moth-eaten. These fringes are intentional. They're long, thin tassels called tzitzit. Isn't that a wonderful word? Tzitzit. Here it is. Because you're looking for them. Oh, tzitzit. That's it. On each corner, they are knotted. They're knotted in a special way. Tzitzit remind Jews about God and the Torah. And the talit is also kept in a cloth bag. And the Hebrew on this bag tells you it's a talit, that's tzitzit. Or is it? No, it says talit. It's a talis bag. You have a talit on there, just in case the Jewish star and the blue fuzzy cover wasn't a tip-off that, oh yeah, there's a prayer shawl in there. Jews put on their talit before morning prayers begin. Some cover their heads and their face with the talit for a moment and pray or think in private. When they bring the talit down on their shoulders, then up, they're ready for morning prayers. See, here it says, he is not, as you might expect, the Jewish elephant man. He's just taking a moment for himself, and then, boom, he reveals. So much about this is about, undressing and reveal, isn't it? It's a rather erotic thing. I never thought of this. Praying. Most days, there are 3 services in the synagogue. Jews can pray on their own, but they pray together. Most of the prayers say we, us, and our. Any adult Jew can lead the prayers, and sometimes a rabbi leads them. A rabbi is a teacher and a preacher. Jews mostly pray in Hebrew, and in some synagogues, some prayers are in the ordinary language of the country, like Tagalog. Here are the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments are the most important part of the Torah. Most of them are rules, and when they're read from a scroll, everybody stands up. Here's a simple version of the 10 Commandments. There they are. Let's read them, shall we? We shall. I am God. Not much of a commandment, not telling you to do anything. I love you, and I give you freedom and hope. They're making this shit up. This is nothing to do with anything. 2, only pray to God. Do not pray to Mission Barbecue. I know you want to, but do not. 3, use God's name only at special times, like perhaps during an orgasm. Oh God, oh God, oh God. That's when you should do it. 4, every week celebrate a day of rest, peace, and happiness, if only. 5, care about your parents. This is good. I like this one. Care about your parents. Number 6, love life and living things. I don't recall that as being a thing. No. 6 begins the don'ts. What are they doing here? 6 is anyway. Protect your family. Do not steal is number 8. Number 9 is be honest, as it was really about bearing false witness. And 10, don't get jealous. As if. The first words of the 10 Commandments are written in Hebrew on the walls of the synagogue, and they're in the shape of 2 stone slabs because everybody in the synagogue is hungry and thinking of loaves of bread. No, just kidding. It's because that's how they were first written down and handed to Moses. A little bit more of this book. We're reading, We Worship Here, the Jewish Synagogue. There are no statues and no pictures of God in the synagogue, even though he posed relentlessly back in the day. Jews believe that God does not have a body and that it is wrong to worship people. Most Jewish art in synagogues is about the Torah, the land of Israel, and the first Jewish temple from long ago, as opposed to what they're implying is that churches, you look everywhere, there's this poor guy suffering, bleeding, anorexic on the cross because he has such a good time in church. Jews are like, we're not going to imagine how God is, we're just going to show a candelabra. Now, this candlestick has 7 branches, like a tree, and it's called a menorah, and there was apparently a menorah in the ancient temple in Jerusalem. Now, the vine in this picture, I don't know what the hell's going on here, but this is a very, very gorgeous picture. Look at it. What This should not be in a Jewish synagogue. I don't care if you call it a vine. I don't care. This is, no, excuse me. I don't know who wrote this book here, but no. The vine stands for the land of Israel and the Jewish people because the branches of a vine weave around each other. And here, this is true. This is a Mogen David. This is or a Mogen David, Jewish star. Right there it is on a yarmulke, which means shield or star of David. There were 12 tribes in Israel, so the star has 12 edges. I never knew. I thought it was 6 points. I know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, okay, right. The girl has painted the old city of Jerusalem on a piece of cloth, which she is making into a talit. Oh, how pretty! Isn't that nice? And then so basically, when they make the fringes, that's Detroit. Synagogue activities. Now, most synagogues have classes for children, for kinderlach. After school or on Sunday mornings, they learn about the Torah, about Jewish history and festivals, and they also learn how to read Hebrew. There are classes for adults and for families too. These children here are making pictures to celebrate the Jewish festival of Hanukkah. Here they are making pictures using sand. What? Okay, I assume they're Polish children, because as soon as you make a picture using sand and you hold it up, Mom, oh, crap. So I don't know what's going on there. On a day before Hanukkah, these children are learning how to make olive oil and light the Hanukkah lights. Best person I never knew who knew how to make olive oil was Popeye, and he used his tongue. Anyway, here's a glossary. I'm not going to go through all this, but all the glossary of all the words that have been told to us, oh, so joyfully and so creatively in this book. And it's a very colorful book. It's a rather beautiful book to read. See if there's anything new. An index even. So it's a very helpful, almost a rather pretty and beautiful, shall we say, not a textbook, but it's more of a guide, really. We worship here, the Jewish synagogue. Jews visit synagogues to worship God. I'm looking at the back cover. And to study, find out what happens inside synagogues around the world. This book is a perfect introduction to the Jewish faith. Discover what Shabbat is, how Jews pray, why there are no pictures of God in the synagogue, and where to get a really good pastrami sandwich. So, ladies and gentlemen, we thank the Watts Company for putting together such a nice, it's a very nice book, and it's rather beautifully colored in and designed. It's We Worship Here, Jewish Synagogue by Angela Wood and Emma Trillhart. I still don't get where they get people writing a Jewish book with names like that. But we thank them very, very much. We thank them for this series. And in the days that we live in, anybody who tries to understand the craziness and the mishigas and the joys of being Yidlach, we truly appreciate it. And I appreciate you for watching me, Rabbi Sol Solomon, on this program and at my own website, shalomdammit.com. We have more of this program. Dave's Gone By coming up right after this. I always play the same music. Let me play little something. What the hell can I play? Let's play some Simus. Hey! Oh, big thank you to Moshe Denberg there for coming up with that lovely, lovely Rabbi Sol Solomon theme. He actually calls it Moshe's Freilach. So it really wasn't for Rabbi Sol Solomon. But our good friend out in Canada, Moshe Denberg, makes a lot of Jewish-oriented music with his band called Simus. And I'm assuming Facebook won't block it. I'm assuming ASCAP won't give me a headache for playing that, or YouTube won't mute me. We're going to find out by next week. So that may get a little blip on YouTube or even Facebook, but I hope not. Anyway, it is noon Eastern time, here in the Daverhood. You're watching the 933rd episode of the Dave's Gone By Facebookio Podcastio Programmio of the Stream conmigo, Dave Lefkowitz, and my darling wife Joyce will be back in a bit. So we still have God, Friends of the Daverhood, and our Colorado Limerick of the Damned to do. But as promised, we also have Dave's Big Dictionary. Now, this is a piece where if you were watching earlier in the show, and I know you were, Joyce put her hand and rifled through, making ruffles and riffles. Well, we didn't win this in a raffle, but this is a thesaurus/dictionary, a very, very meager one, admittedly, but she put her finger down on a word, and the goal is, it was completely at random, no preparation, nothing, and my job, if you will, is to talk extemporaneously about whatever that word brings to mind. So the word that she came up with, her finger came up with, was philanthropist. She had philanthropic, but it's philanthropist, which is one devoted to philanthropy, and the word philanthropy is not in here, which makes this the best dictionary ever, and one who exerts himself in doing good to his fellow men. Not fellow men, his fellow men. So that is what philanthropy means. Now I'm going to talk about philanthropy, and it's funny that it does come up this particular week, because I had one of my English classes, I gave them for their big essay that was due this past week, they had a choice. They could write either about Hamlet by Shakespeare, they could read the play, or at least read somebody's synopsis of the play, or I picked a weird one. I gave them Timon of Athens, and I said that the point of the essay was to connect something that happened in a scene from the play, or two scenes from the play, to something that happened in your life. And, Hamlet is a much better known play, and it's also got all these things going on, and it's got, I'm hoping there wasn't, fratricide and brothericide, as well as suicide, and lots of things happen in Hamlet, and they're all terrible. But certainly the emotional stuff you can connect. And Timon of Athens is easier, and so it's a much, in a way, simpler play, certainly less complexly laid out. And it's just about a guy who is taken advantage of, right? He has tons of money. He's very, very lucky. And he is thrilled to just have big banquets and loan all his friends money, or give his friends money. He's got it. He lets it run through his fingers. He's the opposite, the opposite of Moliere's miser. He is thrilled, delighted to be giving away all he has to whoever wants, and certainly all his friends, and all the people who hang around him and tell him how wonderful he is. And he won't listen to reason in the sense of somebody warning him and saying, hey, these friends of yours, not really perhaps your friends. Maybe you should let someone else pick up the check once in a while. And he's like, why should I? I have it. I give it. Life's short. I don't have kids. Take it. And then, of course, he eventually loses track, runs out of money, and then he has debts. And what happens? Of course, he goes to all these fair weather friends who dined off him, sponged off him, bled him dry, and of course flattered him all the time and said how wonderful he was. And now they can't be bothered. Now it's like, well, now they don't believe that he's really gone poor. They all find different reasons and excuses to ignore him and to forsake him, if you will. And he doesn't take this very well. He becomes a raving, almost madman, cursing humanity, leaving his home and going off to live in a cave, is Shakespeare, and railing at them. And then it's almost like Philoctetes, the Greek one, where he absents himself from society, and the society suddenly needs him. Suddenly the town is being attacked, and now they need, he finds, I'm giving away the whole synopsis, but he finds gold while he's in his cave. So he's rich again, and then they come crawling after him and it's like, can we take your gold, please? Because we need to build ships and we need to pay stuff to fight in the war. And he's like, Bangul. And then he dies alone and miserable. That's the play. It's Hamlet it ain't, but that's Timon of Athens. So it goes to the idea of philanthropy, how much you give and what do you give. And it also made me think of this thing that I do go through. It's one of my fantasy things. Like if I always go through these stages. Like if I had an extra $100,000, not that I have a first $100,000, except socked away in a bank, hopefully for retirement or in real estate. But if suddenly got a windfall check, won the lottery, what would I do? Right? How much would I keep? How much would I give to relatives? How would I give to old friends? Would I give X amount to charity? How philanthropic will I be? Versus out of $100,000, wait, no, I'm probably gonna need that to live, or Joyce will. At some point, we're gonna get older and older, and we'll have a house and stuff like that, but we might need care. We've been really, if I'm bedridden, it'd be nice to have round-the-clock people looking at me so I don't have to go into a nursing home that early. So I was like, $100,000? I'll ask the tax person who's doing this, how much should I give in order basically to deduct it, and how much, and then where would I send it? Back in the day, I would say, I'm just gonna give it all to theaters, give it all to these nonprofit theaters, because theater meant so much to my life. And now that I've moved away and that I don't see much theater at all, I'm not part of the whole New York hermetic scene, I don't know how terribly important it is that little theaters in New York are doing plays or elsewhere. Is it that life revivifying? Or did I just kind of get into that because I'm obsessive about certain things, and that, once I started going to the theater, it just became what I did, whether I really, really loved it or it just became what I did. So what I give it? What I give, of course, as I should, to diseases, as we all do. In the expectations, give $1 million if you had it to cancer, $10 million to cancer, and they never cure cancer. You hope it's helping something, you hope it's doing something, and all it is funding people to write grants to get more money for other people who've donated money. But I do that. It's like, if I had 100,000, if I had, $1 million. Somebody wrote me a check for $1 million. How would I carve it up? How much would I put in savings? What little percent would I invest in the stock market? What percentage would I give to family members? What percentage would I do for this? What percent would I set aside in this way? And then last thought, because that's me, is what kind of humanitarian philanthropy would I give? What would I give to a cure for hydrocephalus or for C. diff, both of which my father suffered with? Cure for dementia, because my grandparents had a bit of that. What would I cure for cleft palate? I grew up with it, was burdened with it my early whole life. Are there people working on that? $1 million, maybe not just repair, but figure out a way to have kids not born with that. How would I? Or if I had $1 million, I'd be like, okay, never working again, never teaching again for sure. And maybe, keep this house, have a little summer place on Long Island or a little apartment in New York. So $1 million doesn't go that far. $1 million would still actually, $1 million, that's how horrible this is. It would still be like, I hope that's enough to retire on. Isn't that scary? Isn't that awful? I hope $1 million, if God willing, I live to like 85 years old, and after 70, I start to have physical or mental problems, and I've got to live 15 years, and maybe have to go to a nursing home, or skilled care or something like that, which is $10,000 a month or what. $1 million, it's freaking good. So $1 million is nothing. I wouldn't give a penny of $1 million away, let alone the 100,000, because you can't, right? 10 million. What would I give away out of $10 million? And I'd be like, well, I don't know. I would have enough for my comfortable retirement and to give some to family. What about? But then I'd start thinking, there's some radio stations I could buy. Some, terrestrial stations. And they're going to get cheaper because cars aren't putting in AM antennas anymore. So they're just going to get rid of the whole deal, the whole schmear. So what about buying, my dream-ish job is being on the air and maybe running a radio station, building that up, and wouldn't bother me if it never really made any decent money because $10 million, who cares? $100 million, Taylor Swift money, not quite Warren Buffett money, but money, right? How much would I get? I think I like to think that at that level, I would be writing checks to some cancer places. I hope. And again, I would still be like, is this deductible? I would still say, okay, I've got $100 million here to spend, right? I'm going to spend some of it on me and Joyce and our lives and have a very safe retirement and provide a very safe, comfortable retirement for my cousins and so forth, my aunts and stuff, mother-in-law. But, I'll do that, but I still have, $80 million left over. Well, great, cool, yay. And buy a radio station or two. But then, I would still be like, okay, I will, not Easter stills perhaps, but some kind of real decent cause, glaucoma, something to help the cause, even though I know in my lifetime I'll never see any kind of real cure of anything. COVID, for crying out loud. The common cold, cerebral palsy, one of them, the Jerry's Kids stuff. But I would still be like, okay, I've got $10 million that I won't even miss. I'm sorry?
Did I miss the Limerick of the Dam?
No, we haven't gotten to that. I can,
How are you doing?
I can take 10 million. I'm talking to Dave's Big Dictionary.
What was the word again today? Philanthropic?
Philanthropic. I'm also philanthropist. I'm trying to say, if I had $10 million.
Well, look at the woman who gave what, $1 billion to Einstein, to Albert Einstein Medical School, so people could go free.
$1 billion.
I think her husband was an investor. He died and said, "Do what you want with the money." And then I think she gave $1 billion. It was an insane number. It's a lot of money. Yeah. But could you imagine all the people who can go to medical school who have the brain power but didn't have the financial power? Yeah. Like, that to me is like... Because
if you figure it, let's say it costs a kid $100,000 to live and get tuition at medical school.
And they have to do residency, so they move around a lot. Like, and they have to move families if they have families.
And this gift, this happened just this week, this gift would send dozens.
Oh, a lot, yeah.
Because it's $1 billion freaking dollars.
I don't know how they're going to dole it out, but I don't know, like...
First of all, if somebody sent me a check for $1 billion, what would I do?
I think I would probably die. I'd have a heart attack and die.
I would buy all the plush potatoes in the world.
No, you would make a plush potato factory. See, like, you could buy things that are made, but if you make the means of production, you could have endless. You could get a textile farm to make the textiles, and then you could get a factory that makes it. So
and then what I would do...
You could grow the textiles, harvest the textiles, and then produce the potatoes.
And what I would do at that point is I would make a deal with, like, the governor of Connecticut and say, I'm going to cover the whole state.
Where is the Heinz factory? Yeah, you'd have to be,
the entire city of Pittsburgh would just have my potatoes. It'd be like locusts from the...
And you know what your delivery van could be?
What?
That Idaho potato truck.
Yes! I would buy it.
You should buy the land near that couple that has the Airbnb. The Airbnb is an old potato truck, like old potato logo thing. You should do that.
No, I'd knock this house down and make it into a giant potato. We would have the money. We could do it.
Could we at least have windows?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
They complain that potato Airbnb that's made from the old iron or whatever metal thing from the Idaho potato truck, it has no windows.
It couldn't. How could it?
But I would need that to see.
I know. Windows. I guess they could make it like it has eyes, and those eyes could be sort of opaque, or translucent.
All of the potatoes, like potato eyes, could each be a window. Like,
right.
Yeah.
So you can see through it. It wouldn't be like, but you can see through it all over the potato.
We saw it. The top looks empty, but it has a filter, so it could be just like a screen or something.
Yes. They could make it. They could retrofit it. If I had $100 If I had $1 billion, I would
I want to
retrofit
see
the
like
potato.
how that's going to work at the medical school. Because Fordham's in the Bronx, so is Albert Einstein.
Oh, yeah.
Albert Einstein Medical School tuition scholarship. It says $1 billion.
Yeah. $1 billion.
I don't know how they're gonna. Yeah, free tuition. Let's see and see
Yeah.
if I get this.
I mean, imagine that. I'm sure tuition ain't cheap.
It says medical students will now have an option. They'll receive the historic $1 billion. It's a continue reading. I hate that.
I hate continuing reading.
I don't understand it.
Well, what's not to understand? I'm very, very, very rich.
Yeah.
Someone who made, .com gazillionaire.
It says, currently fourth-year students will have their so all fourth-year students who are at Einstein now will get their fourth-year tuition reimbursed. Whoa. It'll be one of the several in the country doing it. It's the third largest gift. Each year, 100 students enter to complete their degree. Oh my goodness! Tuition at Einstein is almost $60,000 a year. Yeah.
A year?
Mm-hmm. It's $59,458.
So it's $250,000 to go to Einstein University.
It says this year the college has 737 Doctor of Medicine (MD) students and 209 PhDs. So they do mud-fud like MD, PhD.
Yeah.
And then they have about 200 something research fellows.
And by the way, the cost of it doesn't even include the Einstein's bagels that you can get at the place, for lunch and stuff.
Says she is also the clinical professor emerita of pediatrics at Einstein.
This is amazing. This is not out of her will. She's alive.
I worked there. First Manhattan Company was the place that I was. David Gottesman was the guy that I worked for. Remember when I was a temp agent and I worked in that investment company, and we called him Gottesman, which is Gottesman.
Well, we have that kind of money.
Gottesman, yeah.
Now, if I had $1 billion, would I do that for medical or theater students? Would I do a scholarship thing for? I don't know what I would do. I don't even know if I would do that. I would necessarily maybe, if I cared enough, if I were more of a humanitarian, instead of getting them all in for free, I would have it as
they have a room full of people with white coats clapping.
Yeah.
Yay! I can have food tonight.
I know. I would
ramen
want
noodles. Woo-hoo!
Yeah. I want a longer legacy. I might pay like 25% of everybody's, so that it could go on for like many, many, many years. Because eventually, even $1 billion will run out if it's $250,000 per person for free. But as opposed to giving everybody a good solid leg up, like instead of $250,000, pay half, and then you can do it for a lot longer.
It's amazing. Yeah, I don't know how they do it. I should know endowments and all that, but sometimes they invest, so you get money, right? And then they're spending the money, but they're not spending the $1 billion, so they might invest it, and that investment they can
live off that.
Yeah.
I mean, I totally get that.
Good for them.
That's the other thing I would do. Even if we got like somebody please send us a check for $10 million. And put it in like a CD or money market, and it's getting 4% or 4.5%. We could live, we could live on that interest.
Remember when I worked? It literally was First Manhattan. It was on Fifth Avenue, and I remember that he had a secretary, and the one thing I did for him so the secretary was out. She actually passed out in the office, and the building was being redone. She got sick, and he had a whole kitchen. He had a beautiful thing in his whole suite. And he liked the art pages because he would evaluate art. So I had to take the New York Times and shrink down the copies of those huge pages because it wasn't online then. And it had to be exactly a certain way, measure it and be perfect. And I remember my boss saying, "I'll check to make sure you've done it right." I'm like, I get paid $5 an hour.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's how he's a fucking billionaire, because he pays everybody minimum wage.
No, and he gave me the check from my boss. I was in the investment library, and I worked with two other people. We were just filing like library people. And then he looked at me and he said, "Here's your bonus," which was my boss's bonus. And then the guy T-Cal and Cheryl, who I worked with, they were laughing, and they said, "You're not here long enough for a bonus." I said, "I know. What is in here?" And they said, "I think you're cheating." I was like, I'm not cheating.
And I'll bet that bonus was more than you would have made if you
I don't
worked there
know.
for a year.
I was supposed to work there for 2 weeks. I was there for all summer, so I was there much
Yeah.
longer. Yeah.
But it's just like,
Yeah, Goddessman.
like a billion, giving away. Be a philanthropist, give away a
Give
billion.
it away.
And she probably has $100 billion, and that was a deductible. That was kind of like her accountant said, you can give $1 billion and you don't have to pay.
But to me, that's
Yeah.
really beautiful because then it perpetuates like all those people, like the guys and women and men and everyone in medical school. Then they have a level of stress off. They can study, and then they'll feel more generous.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully, to the next. It's really beautiful.
But what it also says about our culture and the times we're living in is that the only fucking way that art and universities and even to some extent medicine is relying on the uber rich to be generous. We can't, because your average person, we were talking before with Sam Leiter about theater, that a Broadway theater ticket is $270.
But a lot of people go into debt. Debt is common in medical school and things like that. That's very common. It's not uncommon because...
Well, you're supposed to pay it back.
Yeah, well, they hope that you get but also you have malpractice. I mean, it's expensive. It's an expensive job, but I think, like, even law school, like, our good friend's son went to law school, and, he had a real decision of, like, what's he going to go for in the law school, and what type
Meanwhile,
of
while
law,
paying $40,000 a year,
but it's, and then if you move, you have to pay for your housing, you're moving. I mean, it's...
But it's like the average common person has to rely on the kindness of strangers in order, and of course the tax code presumably makes it nice for the strangers to give, because if that falls apart, if you take away, the impetus for millionaires and billionaires to give rather than just out of the goodness of their hearts, we're all fucked. we're all, everybody can be working for nothing, and everything will cost way beyond our means. If you think it does now, we're not even close on that. But anyway, those are my thoughts on being a philanthropist, being philanthropic. This idea that it would, how sad is it that it would take me well over $1 million before I would really feel generous beyond my immediate, like, family and cousins and friends, but where I would really feel like I can part with this money for a good cause, pry it out of my fingertips. That's kind of like that. And I'm Jewish. I'm miserly. I'm angry in retrospect that I used to give, when I would go to the theater, I would give $1, whatever it was, when they would collect for Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. Stop. Don't go there yet. No, Broadway Care Equity Fights AIDS, right? You hear the speech, and you're like trying to get out of the theater. Says, all right, fine, it's a good cause. It's $1. Partying with $1 when I wasn't making a lot of money. It was like, all right, here, gay people are great. They're making great theater. Fine. And then reading in the New York Post a couple of weeks ago that Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS and Phyllis Newman Breast Cancer Initiative gave like $400,000 to relief in Gaza. I'm like, fuck does that have to do with AIDS, HIV, people living with AIDS and HIV? How are you suddenly spending that money? Most of it, lots of it given by Jews. All right. Not to Israel, or it shouldn't be going to Gaza or Israel. It should be for American people, gay or straight, who are living or suffering with HIV, breast cancer, and all right, you can widen it out to other diseases, that's fine. But suddenly going all the way across the world to help our enemies by giving them $400,000 of relief, of money that people, of their hearts and of their time, and to get a signed playbill or a poster or something, and gave this money, and then they realized that they're actually feeding people who are going to turn into terrorists, right? It's like, whoa, I want every dollar I ever gave that organization back. And I hope they're what do they call the hat, the Easter fucking bonnet thing that they do, and then the other holiday, I hope they start failing like crazy and nobody gives, because then, you don't, it's bait and switch. Right? You can't, and I'm sure on the website it said, and I'm sure they've been upfront on Facebook and said, but no. No, you don't do that. So go figure that I would spend some of my time talking about philanthropy, talking about my Scrooginess. But if I'm going to give, I want to know exactly where that dollar's going. If I'm going to give $100,000 to cancer, if I had it, I want to make sure that that money is actually going to cancer patients, to people with microscopes and test tubes and little mice that they're twisting the necks on and injecting with stuff to figure out how cancer cells. I mean, they're really working, and it's not going to fund a beautiful building or the salary of the chief of medicine. No. Take my money, please. Give me the deductible, my tax deduction, but put it where you're implying very seriously that it's going. And that is my thought on Dave's Big Dictionary, live on this Saturday morning, March 2nd, 2024. I'm Dave Lefkowitz. She's in the other room at the moment, but that was my darling and adorable wife, Joyce. We're 3.5 hours into a 3-hour show. This happens sometimes, my friends. And we're not quite done. I know you wish we were. I know you wish you didn't have a limerick to do in the broadcast, but we still have a limerick to do. And we will get to Manzanola, Colorado, after we go through our, you okay? Our friends of the Daverhood. Now, friends of the Daverhood are people who've been on this show since we started back in October of 2002. We've had hundreds of guests on this program. Wonderful guests like Samuel L. Leiter, who was on the program today and who is the author of a brand new book called Brooklyn Takes the Stage, all about theater in Brooklyn, New York, when it was really booming in the mid to late 1800s. Go get that book. It's from McFarland and Company. He also has many books about Japanese theater in particular, including one that he wrote 2 years ago called Meiji Kukabuka Kabuki, I think. It was something like that. Anyway, look for him. It's Samuel L. Leiter, and read his blog.
The last book? I heard the 2022 book. Where is it from? Do you know the press?
Well, Brooklyn Takes the Stage was last year. I mean, just a couple of months.
2022, yeah.
Well, 2022 was the Japanese one. That was Meiji Kabuki, also by Sam Leiter. So check him out and read him at his blog. I can't. Well, it was something like Theaters This Leiter's Side, I think .com or Google Theaters Leiter's Side, Leiter. Samuel L. Leiter. Wonderful guest in the Daverhood talking to Rabbi Sol Solomon. And of course, you can find out more about Rabbi Sol by going to shalomdammit.com. We keep talking about his one-person show, which actually had musical director Richard Shore in it. But you can watch.
How is Richard? Do you ever hear from him?
I check him out on Facebook. He's fine. He's thank God he's doing very well. And I think he was musical director for production of Crazy for You somewhere just last month. So yay for Richard, our friend of the Daverhood also. He is the musical director of Shalom Dammit and Evening with Rabbi Sol, which you can watch on his website, shalomdammit.com, as well as read and hear his rabbinical reflections. Shalom, DAMMIT.com. We want to wish congratulations to our musical friend of the Daverhood, Eric Anderson, the old folk and folk rock guy, Eric Anderson. There's a documentary about him called The Song Poet, and it had been on public television, and they just renewed the license for it, the contract for it. So it's going to be on PBS for another 3 years, so they can keep replaying it and stream it and have it on their website. It's called The Song Poet, and it's all about Eric Anderson. I want to remind you that this is your last chance to catch Nina Conti doing the dating show at the Soho Playhouse on Van Dam Street in downtown Manhattan. She's really, really very, very funny. And it's unlike any kind of show that you've seen involving ventriloquism or audience participation. It's a whole different kind of a thing. Check her out. The Dating Show with Nina Conti one, I don't know if she does 2 performances today or just 1, but today's the end of the run. You can also see today Marissa Mulder will be at Don't Tell Mama doing her cabaret show. Charles Bush, he's got a new play. It's called Ibsen's Ghost, and it starts today and runs through mid-April. That is at 59E59 Theaters. You know where it is, 59 East 59th Street.
Makes sense.
David Broza, our musical friend, and another musical friend, Willie Nile, are taking part in a tribute called Acoustic Lennon. A lot of John Lennon songs that they're going to be doing at City Winery in New York. Get your tickets at citywinery.com. That is happening tomorrow. No, sorry, how did I miss that? Where is that? Yeah, no, it is tomorrow, Sunday, at 7 o'clock. Both David Broza and Willie Nile taking part. On Monday, Mike Agranoff will be performing at historic Richmond Town in Staten Island, New York. So definitely go see him. Starting on the 5th, and for the foreseeable future, on Broadway at the Gershwin Theater in the long-running Wicked, our friend Donna McKechnie. You remember her from the original A Chorus Line. She is stepping in as Madame Marble, that character. So by God, Donna McKechnie on Broadway in Wicked at the Gershwin. Starting on Thursday, our theater friend Michael Portantier is producing and directing a cabaret night called 54 Loves Cast Albums at Studio 54, which is, or I'm sorry, it's at 54 Below, which is the cabaret club under Studio 54. And it features other friends of ours, including Karen Akers, Gerard Alessandrini, and Christine Petty. And there's some big Gerard Alessandrini news because it's actually going to happen in a couple of months. Forbidden Broadway is going to come back on Broadway.
Whoa, yay!
Never, it's been done everywhere in the world, off Broadway, all over. Forbidden Broadway will have a Broadway
We've
run.
seen them with my mom on Broadway.
Yes.
She loved them, yeah.
So congrats to him.
Yeah.
That's in a few weeks, but go see him and Christine Petty and Karen Akers in the Michael Portantier production, 54 Loves Cast Albums.
David, if you had to choose between a bacon sandwich or a Reuben or whitefish.
No, well, I'm not feeling fish today. So.
Do you want a Reuben with sauerkraut?
No, I won't. No.
Classic roast beef. You want your bacon? They have a bagel with cheese, a special cheese bagel thing. You want your bacon?
Compared to all the other options, I think I'm just going to go with my usual BLT. Don't tell Rabbi Sol. Anyway, on.
I've never seen you two exist simultaneously.
Really? I was offended a little bit because when I was testing the Zoom with Sam Leiter yesterday to make sure everything worked, he was like, "You're Rabbi Sol, right?" I'm like, "Rabbi Sol Solomon is Rabbi Sol Solomon."
Would you like the special bagel is a jalapeno cheddar?
No.
No. What do
No.
you want? You like whole wheat everything? Do you want rosemary sea salt, poppy, pumpernickel, onion? Last time we liked onion.
Onion was good. I like the onion.
Old Bay is very
Old Bay is spicy. I like it though.
Garlic. Or cinnamon, or chocolate, or blueberry, or Asiago.
I think you had me with garlic.
Okay.
You had me with garlic. But I'm still debating over the Reuben because I always have a BLT, and I'm like, do I want Reuben? I know I like it.
I can take a Reuben
without the cheese.
Sauerkraut. You want that?
Well, it's just a roast beef sandwich, ain't it? What's on it? I don't want Swiss. I can't believe we're doing this during the show. This is a part of the Friends of the Day. Anything that feeds me is a friend.
It says corned beef, Swiss cheese, sauerkraut. You could switch out the cheese.
Do I want that, really?
I don't know.
Nah, BLT.
Okay. And you want it on what's the bread you want?
Garlic bagel. Toasted.
Okay, sir.
With snail slime coating.
I'm not doing that.
No? Not doing that? Okay.
Did you do your horrible limerick? Because I'm not going to order till you do.
Well, I'm in the Friends of the Daverhood here. I've got Linda Eder, who on Friday will be at the Sacred Heart University Community Theater in Fairfield. Well, can't talk after 3.5 hours. Still playing now through the 10th of March. If you're in Philadelphia, go to the Walnut Street Theater and see Frank Ferrante in his very, very long run. I mean, it's not long running yet in Philadelphia, but he's been doing this everywhere for decades. Groucho, A Life in Review. Deb Margolin is doing her play,
David,
or
would
she
you
wrote
like,
it. She's not in it.
the-
I'm sorry, what?
Would you like the potato chips?
Or are you getting the meal?
It's up to you.
What are you? If you get the beverage,
Yeah, I will.
get the meal, and then I'll
Yes,
get potato chips. Yes.
sir.
The
Just the regular, not the fancy.
regular what? Potato chips.
Yeah.
You don't get fancy potato chips. It's a meal.
No, you can pay 46 cents.
No, I'm not paying $1. I just went through a thing where I'm the worst philanthropist in the world. I want to take my dollars back from Broadway Care Equity Fights AIDS because they support Gaza. I do not want 40 cents more for potato chips.
I think I made a mistake.
Deb Margolin is a... She wrote, "This is not a time for peace," running through mid-March off Broadway. Jessica Molaski is off-Broadway in The Connector, a new musical by Jason Robert Brown at Manhattan Class Company. On Broadway, Lilias White is in Hadestown. Alan Menken's music is in Aladdin. Off-Broadway, his music is in Little Shop of Horrors. Of course, we got to remind you that Eric Comstock and Barbara Fasano are at Birdland on Tuesday nights. Vince Giordano and the Nighthawks are at Birdland on Monday evenings. And of course, every Monday night at Birdland, Jim Caruso's Cast Party. All of these things you can get tickets for at birdlandjazz.com. Shout out to my friend Evan Seplow, the founder of StageBuddy.com.
I won't check out till you're ready.
Shout out to David Sheward, who writes for TheaterLife.com, TotalTheater.com, and CulturalDaily.com. Shout out to Leslie Hoban Blake, who with Charlie Gross co-hosts Two on the Aisle, and shout out to our beloved Vicky Quaddy, who is in Chicago doing Are You Smarter Than Your 8th Grade Nun and Late Night Catechism. And those, my friends, are the friends of the Daverhood. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, oh my God, it's like 12:37 in the afternoon, and we're still here. We're still doing the show, but it's almost done. I've told you everything you need to know. Or did I tell you that, of course, you can watch the archives of the show at davesgoneby.com or at archive.org, or if you just want the audio of the archives, you can go to castbox.fm, where you can download it as a podcast. We also have a YouTube channel, Dave's Gone By, and this Facebook page, Dave's Gone By. And if you want to read my work, my plays, my interviews that I've written up, song lyrics, all that kind of stuff, they're at davelefkowitz.org. davelefkowitz.org. So if you have a theater somewhere and you're not closing up and you're not running out of audiences, or you want to attract audiences, do one of my plays. They're all there. Read them for free. I'll probably let you, unless you're a Broadway big producer or I'll want some money, I'll probably let you put on the play for like $1, just so somebody's, doing my shit, if you know what I'm saying. davelefkowitz.org. So, by the way, I'll say this for last, but here's we do have a limerick, as we've been doing for, we didn't even get to Bunyan Watch today. That's so sad, but we'll do that next week. But the limerick we have to do.
People something to look forward to,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Give them the razzle dazzle.
Right.
Well, now with your new shoes, Bunyan Watch isn't really so much of a thing.
Oh, I know.
Maybe you could show people your new shoes.
I bought new shoes. Well, they saw that picture of me. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. We bought, because I haven't worn shoes in 2 decades.
Probably.
I wear fairly nice sneakers, but no, they're not nice. They're $15 sneakers from either Champion or from Everlast. And they're Velcro, they're great. My foot fits. The bunions fit because you can adjust the thing. They're wonderful. They're fantastic. But I went to DWS last week, and Joyce was looking for shoes. DSW, sorry.
I know. I was like, I couldn't put it in my hand.
Dyslexia. And I tried on these things, and they're closer. They're not like Italian leather shoes. They're still
beautiful.
Borderline sneaky kind of loafer things, but they look nice, and my foot went in, and I'm like, my foot fits in this,
Yeah.
and it's not a sneaker, and it's not like a
they have
moccasin.
A little bounce in the step and a heel, right?
Yeah.
Like a little bit of a.
They're very pleasant to walk in. Now it's one full size bigger than my actual shoe size. So because my foot just, and it was a discount, it's clearance thing. But my foot went in. I started walking around. I'm
You
like,
look great. Yeah.
this works, and it's a little big for my foot, but it's perfect where my bunions need it. And I wore it to school twice this week. I like it very, very much. I'm happy to find a shoe. I'm gonna wear it sparingly, so I have it when I need a nice pair of shoes to wear.
Also, we can get you another one online too. We have the serial number and everything.
I guess. But
Why don't you do your Limerick of the Dam so we can eat before the store closes?
Well, they close at 2. We're good. It's only 20 to 1.
Oh, okay.
But I just have the Limerick of the Damned, and this is where, for many, many years now, since Joyce and I were living in Colorado, we're in Maryland now, I got it into my head to write a poem about as many places in Colorado as I possibly could. So I've done all the obvious ones, the easy to rhyme ones, Greeley, Vale, well, Centennial not so easy, but I did that one. There are literally hundreds. If you want to read all my Colorado Limericks of the Damned, you can go to davelefkowitz.org and look for them. And they're all in one big spot. It is it is a monument to perversity. Because they're limericks. They're supposed to be dirty and risque and awful, and I make them as awful as I possibly can. But I still am trying to do new ones. And won't you know, there's so many different places in Colorado, I'm still occasionally able to come up with new stuff. So there is a place in Colorado called Manzanola, Colorado. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it, and most of all, I'm going to torture you with a Colorado Limerick of the Damned.
You're the poetry man. A limerick is a comic verse of 5 lines, in which lines 1, 2, and 5 will end with words that rhyme. And likewise, verses 3 and 4 also end with words that rhyme. So this is a limerick. Rocky Mountain, Colorado.
Yes, our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. And much as I love and sometimes miss Colorado, I forget, like, they had, I think, their worst snowstorm ever there last week. It was like piles and piles of snow. And here we are in Maryland, and it's raining, and I'm like, hey, not too shabby. So, anyway, our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. Manzanola is a town in southeastern Colorado that's been around since 1895. We've got a population these days of about 350 people living on a third of a square mile. The name, Manzanola, does come from the Spanish word for little apple. Because isn't manzanilla like manzana?
Manzana, muñecas, doll, manzana.
So Manzanola, little apple.
Manzanola, it sounds like Italian.
Yeah. And the town back in the day had a big apple orchard. So they named it Little Apple. Yeah.
That's smart.
Now, this is from Wiki. It had different names beforehand, the town. Manzanola was previously known as Town of Graham's Ranch, Town of Apishapa. Isn't that the best?
It's like Ogallala.
Apishpa. Apishapa. Probably an Indian thing.
I think somebody just made that up.
Apishapa. I make a pishapa in my pants. And the town of Catlin came after that until they finally named it Manzanola.
I think that's a much better name.
You don't like a pishapa? Oh, man. Well, it's not a rich area. In fact, the median income there now is $25,000 a year. But, it's off a highway, so you get a lot of visitors passing through. It's near Lake Meredith and near Rocky, Colorado, home of Colorado's, quote, most succulent melons.
Oh, wow.
Colorado's most succulent melons.
You're going to have a tagline.
Yeah, that'll do it. Well, remember last time it was, what was it, is the something capital of the world, and it was ridiculous. It was like the cheesecake or the horse hair.
Or something.
Yeah. Capital
something
of
like that, like the something mushroom. Yeah, it was very unusual.
Yeah. So this one is just home of the most succulent melons.
God bless them.
Yeah, well, I always thought Dolly Parton had that distinction. But anyhow, it's time for or Colorado Limerick of the Damned, going to Manzanola. It's best to avoid Manzanola, or else you might run into Lola, who chews her own flesh to keep herself fresh, and douches with Diet Right Cola. Yeah, everyone write to me and complain. Dave's Gone By at AOL.com is the place to do that. Dave's Gone By, like the show title, at AOL.com. And yeah, no, there's no apostrophe in that. Just Dave's Gone By at AOL.com. You can also post to me here on Facebook, message me on Facebook. All the way usual messages to Dave are sent. So I'd love to hear from you. I don't get to write back to everybody or even have time to do a thumbs uppy thing. But it's really great when you guys get in touch and tell other people about the show. That we have been here for all these years and are still doing it live Saturday mornings right here on Facebook. Next week will be the 934th episode of the Dave's Gone By Facebook podcast of the stream. I don't know if we'll have a guest. We may or we may not. It'll be the start of one of my spring breaks at one of the schools. So I think we've talked about so much. One last thing, and then we'll get out and we'll go, because we got this in the mail.
Should I place the order?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. We got this in the mail this week. What different times we lived in. Okay? We live in now. I grew up, I was already in almost my teens during the Betty Ford years and then Nancy Reagan's war on drugs. I still am anti-drug. I've never tried really any drug other than sugar, and the occasional beer for alcohol. I've never tried anything. And I was furiously brainwashed to be anti-drug because it affects brain cells and it does all these bad things and it causes crime. And when we now live in a world, a society where even mild drugs are still technically federally illegal. Check this out. This came. Mood, 100% legal THC. No medical card required. You remember that whole thing? Well, you can have it for medicinal marijuana, but you can't.
We lived in Colorado and went through this already. This is no big shame.
I don't ever remember getting an advertisement. I mean, we passed dispensaries.
They have it in all the papers. It was very common, yeah.
Natural cannabis, not the stuff they put on your knees.
No, I know. Mom loves Mom has a really, like, for her painful knees and her ankles, and she's like probably osteo, but she loves the cream.
What is that called? I forgot the name of it. It's not
like
THC.
It's a
hemp is cannabis oil. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
It's like a non-THC based. They call it Cinderella, which is the cleanest, I think, the most pure.
But I mean, this is bud on a staircase. It looks like broccoli. It literally looks like the broccoli I got this week that was tempura fried.
It's tempura. Yeah. You probably thought it was tempura.
But I mean, it's like, I don't believe this. Take the weight off your shoulders. Natural cannabis, natural relief. Pre-rolls, brownie thing, or what are those called? Rice Krispie treats.
Yeah.
Just mailed to our home. Last home you would actually send this kind of information to, but it's kind of like, who would ever?
You know who mailed it to us? AI.
So if this can happen in like the 40 years since the so-called, the fake, the ridiculous war on drugs, if this can happen, maybe one day there will be a real band called Janusz and the Weasels. And we will get our wings in heaven.
Maybe, we could start holding auditions and,
Janusz and the Weasels.
Yeah.
I would love it. Anyway.
Maybe if we get snails, we can train them to sing and dance.
Wouldn't you? Oh my God. Yes.
But your food's going to be ready, sir.
All right. I hope there's a layer of sea slime or slug
I
slime.
did ask for toasted with sea slime. Yes.
Yeah, that would be great. And, yeah. And don't pay full price. It has to be on snail. You know where the best place to get snail slime is? Shell station. All right. If I make one more joke like that, she's gonna slug me.
I was gonna say I'm feeling sluggish.
Oh, no problem. Ladies and gentlemen, we gotta go. You've been watching the 933rd episode of Dave's Gone By.
Take down your number.
I took down the number, but it will be 934 next time. Be with us next Saturday, and many Saturdays, God willing, after that. Have a fine week. Enjoy March, right? A couple of days, weeks away from spring.
The Ides.
Oh, this is not the week to change your clock. That's next weekend, but it's coming. So have a good one. Enjoy life. Read Samuel Leiter's book about Brooklyn and Gone. Got music here. Gone By. You know, that was a good song, but it's not Janusz and the Boom Weasels.